I'm gonna head back and pick up my stuff. I just it's so hard.
Walk around blind.
You asked for that one.
Maybe you have it.
Well, now I bought it. No, it's snowball. It's like my name. Snowball's like.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Hopefully you've had a great lunch. I said 1 p.m. sharp and I'm live in my class. So here we go for the next part of our session, and this part will go until 2 o'clock, and then we'll have a regular break again. Not as long as lunch. Any questions about our building foundations? Because this is the section we just finished. We talked about movement, touch, connection, nature, how that creates strong and coordinated body, a secure and regulated child, and a kid who can pay attention and learn. Any questions? Because we're moving on to the downside of the screenings for research, which is pretty heavy. It'll take about an hour. You'll feel, but then it's all going to be up after that. Yes.
You mentioned that attachment is a biological need, even if creatures, things like that. I was wondering if there was any research that showed what people attach to, if it links to certain mental health concerns. Like if they attach to
that, yeah. So that girls are moving toward the social media as video games and porn.
Or even just, for example, like if not necessarily screen attachment, but if kids who attach to a parent who is more screen versus kids who attach to a parent who isn't as screen friendly, whether there's any links to mental health concerns.
There's virtually no research on attachment other than what I told you about virtual autism. And it's sad. Like I went certification in maturational model attachment, and even within that group, which I'm a part of, there's very little recognition of the impact of screens on attachment. I'm kind of bringing that forward and kind of going, whoa, this is like we're detaching from our kids is really important. I work in schools, I see the detached kids, right? But there isn't that would be a beautiful study, right? Is let's look at the level, because we can rate attachment through the attachment inventory, the human attachment inventory. We can actually rate the quality of attachment between the child and the parent, right? So we can quite easily pair that with screen usage, data, right? Be really interesting. I would say experientially that I see the more detached, or the more attached the parent is to the device, the more detached they are from the child. So the more propensity the child is to attach to the device. Because when I bring the parents in, which I do regularly, and have a discussion, I'm seeing a very disconnected parent. I'm seeing a parent that's feeling really uncomfortable in this social review that we've created in this meeting. In fact, many of the teachers say, I'm like, we got to get the parents in here. And the teacher will say, I'll never come. We try to get them for an ID for years.
The reason why I ask is because at my school, and I don't teach it, but at my school, I see the opposite, where the parent is glued to their screen at home, but when they come into the classroom to meet with you and the kid, they leave their phone in the car, and we see the opposite at my school, which is why I'm wondering if there was any research.
That's a very insightful parent. That's a parent with some insight into
grade 7 and 12. So in this age group where you see a lot of attachment to screen, when parents come in, it's the complete opposite. They tell their kids to leave their iPod in the car, they leave their phone in the car, and all attention is on the teacher.
That's a really functional parent, I would say. That's a parent that has insight into. Yeah.
That's why I was wondering if there's any research I could look at.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
Paradoxically, it makes no
start hitting on some of these areas, attachment and, and what we're using the devices for. So you have in your tech toolkit, there's a red flag I set it up like a checklist thing. What I really want teachers to start doing is routinely screening for screen use, right? So, because kids have all sorts of issues, and they're related to all sorts of things, and we have lots of reasons why a child might have developmental delay, or might have a, attachment disorder, might have all these other things going on, right? Because there was life before screens where kids had problems, right? So suddenly, we're seeing kids with problems that are always related to screens. But we want to rule that out, because a lot of times these kids who are overusing screens get caught up in a diagnostic. The medical model has infiltrated the schools, and I'm part of that. And so we brought this diagnostic model into the schools, medical people, the OTs, the SLP, counseling. Once we came into the schools, they're kind of like, well, maybe they have this or that. We're disease spotting, right? So what I really encourage everyone to do is let's rule out screen overuse as a causal factor for these issues. And once we rule it out, so we have a kid who they're not using screens. Okay, well then maybe they should go out and see the pediatrician. And then we start putting them into the diagnostic. We start using the diagnostic model. So I'm not going to go through all of these right away because I'm going to be covering them and splitting each of them with research, right? But generally speaking, problems with development, problems with self-regulation, problems with sleep, problems with, and by sleep I mean staying awake in your class, right? You don't know what they're doing at home, but if you're not staying awake in your class, then there's something going on there, right? So we don't necessarily, this isn't quantified in the sense of if they have 7 out of 10, they're addicted or whatever. We don't have that kind of data, right? This is just giving you some idea of the severity of the problem. A big one as an OT for me is disinterest in other activities. So I have this, and this is now moving into kind of like unresearched evidence, but I was saying that kids should have 5 things they can readily access and do other than screens. And when I say, so what do you do when you go to school? And like, okay, but what else do you do? What do you do that's not screen-based, right? Is the kid should be able to go, oh, shoot, he is with my friends, and we go ride our bikes, and so to me, they should be able to come up with about 5 things, and they can't, if they're looking at me like they have no clue what I'm talking about, and I know they're not, going to PE or performing in PE, I know they're, very sedentary, then I know that there's an issue there, right? That I need to, make an intervention on, right? So, so this is just getting you to start highlighting some of the areas of concern with our kids and how to know kind of when you've got a big problem versus a little problem. So again, we're going to do physical, social, mental, and then I think we'll be at the end of the hour there. So at 2 o'clock, or whenever we start up again, 2:15, we're going to then cover cognitive, which is what you're, the majority of what we're here for today. And when we finish talking about the impact on the brain and the cognition piece, we'll move into the interventions. So the rest of the day will be about interventions. So technology is a restraint. Give a kid a device, they sit, right? Put them in a stroller, give them a device, put them in a high chair, put them in a, set them at a desk, and give them a device. They're going to sit. They're not going to get up and run around, which makes them very attractive as teachers, right? But we already talked about how movement really activates the brain, right? So sitting is not really good for the brain. So this is just the data on the 1 in 3 entering the schools. I do workshops in the States, so I always kind of put a little bit of both. So we've got our UBC study, that EDI mapping, that's showing that in BC and in Manitoba, but as well as a number of studies in the States showing that we're seeing an increase in developmental delay, right? So sitting around isn't doing much for motor development. Obesity, this is just the data from the US and Canada. So we're seeing 1 in 4 Canada, 1 in 3 US, and knowing that a third are going to go on to develop diabetes. So this is showing what's happening on the world stage. This is the OECD study study kind of projecting where we're going with this obesity. It's really serious. It's a very serious issue. And again, when we call something epidemic, that means it's out of control. It's moving forward at a rate that we really can't figure out, what to do about it. So this is again a huge impact directly related to screen overuse. There's also something that's going on with our kids when they're engaged in these devices. So whether it's the alerts going off on my cell phone that I've got sitting on my desk, ping, or it's I'm playing video games, is every time that we're engaged with a stimulus, it is a stimulus, the adrenals squirt out some adrenaline, and the brain produces dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter. Both of them excite the body, right? That's why I love this stuff, right? That's why it's so amazing, because we get jacked up on it, right? So blood pressure goes up, heart rate goes up. So I want to show you a little video clip of that very thing happening for a gamer. So I don't have sound. So I'm plugged in. Let me just try something else here. No, that's not working.
Some physiological arousal like blood pressure.
Let me just take this.
There are also hormones in your body. It's like a drink. We're going to monitor kids with a portable heart rate, blood pressure, an EKG monitor. Kenneth's blood pressure is very normal for me at his age, 22 year old male. He's gone up to 140/69 just as we're about to start playing the game. So Kenneth's getting excited and anticipating play, and it's actually the anticipation of the event. We call it physiological arousal sometimes in the actual event. At this point, Kenneth's heart rate started about 85 beats per minute. Once he's about 3 minutes in, we're at the 3 to 5 minute mark right now. His heart rate's already gone up to 120 beats per minute. It's about 40% or so increase in heart rate. Even though heart rate and blood pressure may go up, like you might see with exercise, it's different from exercise. This would be considered a behavioral stressor. This is a 20-minute mark now. At this point, you can see the blood pressure has gone up to 185/77, which would be considered hypertension. One thing we see with people who are addicted is that over time, they need to play more and more in order to achieve the same amount of arousal. So Kenneth's been playing about 30 minutes at this point. His blood pressure during the last round maxed out at 190/144. Now, that's significant hypertension. I would be a little concerned having physiological arousal as significant as what we saw with Kenneth today.
So, those that understand the biological systems, high adrenaline states are not good, right? What happens with high adrenaline states is it converts to cortisol, which is actually quite harmful to, we have increased autoimmune deficiencies with high cortisol states, and increased cancer with high cortisol. So we really don't want to be in sympathetic charge for very long. Sympathetic charge is there for us to be able to run away from that bear that just came through, down the stairs there. Is go into this high adrenaline state and you're in fight, flight, fight, and you get this increased blood flow so that we can just, bolt it out of it, right? So the idea with a sympathetic charge state is that it was designed to make you really a high performance person for about a minute until you got climbed up a tree or something, and then the parasympathetic system kicks in to lower the adrenaline states. So when kids are gaming in high adrenaline states, or when we're constantly looking at the notifications on our cell phone, what happens is that the body just kind of goes, this isn't good. So what it does is it damps down it says to the adrenals, hey, don't be squirting out that stuff so much. This is like hard on your body, and so it dampens down the stress response, and that's the origins of addiction. Because then the person needs more. The cravings start building, right? I need more because I'm not getting the rush that I used to get. I'm not getting the kind of dopamine in my brain that makes me feel kind of like this, right? So we need more frequency of use. We need more durations. We need more intensity, potency of stimuli. That's where we go from maybe using porn to using deviant porn. We go from using, watching playing Minecraft to kind of getting into GTA 5. But we really need more of the intensity to kind of get us off. So many of our gamers and our social media girls are doing this at night, right? In the middle of the night. Many kids take their devices to the bed, we sleep with them. So they're not getting adequate sleep. So this is another huge issue, is that we're seeing a tremendous amount of our kids in the school who are still sleep deprived. I mean, in many schools that I work in, we all sit around and go, should we just let them have a nap? I mean, that's the question a lot of times, because they can't, if anybody's, got a baby and you've been up all night last night and you show up at school, you are not at 100%. You're maybe functioning at about 30%, and you're more edgy and moody and snappy, and, you're not going to be a nice person, especially if you are in chronic sleep deprivation, right? So this is something that, there's a bunch of things that are going on with these screens at night, is that we have this transmitter in the brain called melatonin, and it climbs before we go to bed, right? So it's starting to go up, and at some point you fall asleep, because melatonin helps us to fall asleep. Blue light, melatonin crashes, right? So we're absolutely working against the natural rhythms of the brain. The brain does need to go to sleep. It does need to calm down. So we're seeing this overstimulation just go on all night, right? So the kids are getting into REM sleep. So they're not having like restorative sleep, and they're going to have all kinds of issues. We're seeing problems with the eye. So when we play a lot outside, we're running around, we're fixating far, near, hanging upside down from a tree, we're running around. The eye's doing everything it should do to maintain the normal curvature of the eye, and also to enable ocular tracking, which is so important for reading. So in Canada, Canada's documented a 43% increase in myopia in children since the onset of screens, right? So this is something that's the handheld. This is something that when a kid's holding a screen at a fixed distance for long periods, my eyes aren't going anywhere. They're just looking at this two-dimensional screen, and it's just not good, right? So myopia is permanent. It's it's not reversible, right? We have to wear glasses now. So we're seeing a lot of issues with myopia. The radiation is an area that requires a lot more research, and it's going to take a lot of time. But I'm going to present to you the data that we have today regarding whether or not these devices are safe. So all wireless devices emit radiation. That's how they talk to the router. That's how they talk to the cell phone tower, right? Cell phones and tablets in particular emit a lot. They have a lot of transmitters and receivers, antenna around the device, right? So that it can, that's what we want. We want connectivity, right? We want it to be fast, right? So this picture just shows that it's really important that the closer you are to the device that's trying to seek out a signal, the more radiation, right? As you move away, the less radiation. So that's a little cell phone that's on the floor. So what is the cancer research showing us? In 2011, the World Health Organization categorized radiation, Wi-Fi radiation, as a group 2B carcinogen. So that's a possible carcinogen. So in 2011, based on existing epidemiological research studies, they gave it that category. So then in 2016, the National Institute of Health kind of said, we really want some definitive data here, because there's a lot of studies coming out, and it was in the press, and everyone was getting worried, and so National Institute of Health got the National Toxicology Program to do a massive study over the course of 6 years, but the data came out over the last 2 years, showing causal links to cancer with heart traumas and brain gliomas. levels from 0 to 4, right? So level 4 is causal. And so there were 2 cancers that they found causally, and this is in rats and mice. But there was criticism of the studies because they only found these cancers in males, why not female? And also they used quite high levels of radiation in such small little animals, right? So it wasn't really relative to the amount that we're actually getting. We're getting less than what the studies knew, so they were highly criticized, but they're still kind of showing a bit of, problems. So there's also epidemiological research, that looks at large groups of people. So one study that was published in Nature looked at male laptop users for 20 years and showed that they had increased testicular cancer, so DNA fragmentation and increased sperm motility. Another one looked at cell phone users and was looking at seeing increase in acoustic neuromas, so cancers of the ear. So again, these are not causal. This is not causal data, right? This is, we looked at a big, group of people, and, we found these things. So one of the other things to consider is that the incidence of cancer is increasing, and right on the first page of our Canadian Cancer Society website, they show that 1 in 2 of us will get cancer in our lifetime, 1 in 4 will die from cancer. So cancer incidence is increasing, even in young populations. So is that due to wireless radiation? We don't know, right? It's due to something. Probably due to multiple things, right? Of which wireless might be one, right? So this is, what do we do with this stuff? What do we do with this stuff? Is we move forward with this is what I suggest, what's been termed a precautionary principle. So we know that younger children they absorb more radiation. So the thinner the skull, the more radiation goes into the brain, because the children's brains and bodies are more aqueous and they're water, so they absorb more radiation. They also have higher cell turnover. So we talked about the infant brain growing so rapidly 0 to 2, right? Is the brain actually triples in size 0 to 2. So thinking fetuses, thinking really little kids, do we want to have them running around with something stuck to their head? Because your iPhone product monograph stuff actually says to hold it an inch away from your head. Now they've said that for a reason, right? I think the technology industry knows a lot more than they're telling us, right? So this is something that we just want to be more cautious. So we're working toward actually setting some policies down at the end of today. That I should be helping guide you guys toward what you might want to do about this data, right? So one of the things you might want to do about this data is, well, let's not have these iPads in daycares and preschools. That's a good idea, and do we want to keep them, wait for kids till we've got half that brain hardwired, the wireless devices. Now, if you go wired, like if you decide in your classroom that I'm going to get a bank of computers and go wired, no problem, right? So these are just, questions that once you have this information, then we can make more informed decisions about what we do with screens in schools, right? So the pediatric research, and this is CDC data in 2018, so fairly recent data, showing increases in kids, right? Which makes me more concerned. Whatever is increasing cancer, it's targeting our kids, right? So our kids are definitely more vulnerable to whatever it is that's going on out there that's increasing cancer rates. And be very conscious too of fetal brain tissue, body tissue is developing so rapidly. So not, everybody's pregnant, not putting that device right on your belly, or holding it right next to the infant. So why aren't you being warned? Because there's not enough data. Cancer data takes a long time. So when we knew smoking was bad for us, it took 30 years for Health Canada to come out with guidelines. When we knew radiation, like dental x-rays, and all x-rays are harmful, it took 10 years to come out with a lead shield for pregnant women, right? So these things, they require a lot of data and must be solid data. So even the National Toxicology Program stuff on rats and mice, well, that was on rats and mice, you know? They're just not looking at it seriously because they need more. But one of the things I am hearing and seeing more is the tech production companies coming out and going, hey, look, we never said it was safe, you know? We never told it was safe. So at this point, we don't know if it's safe. And that's kind of the end of radiation. So radiation's a really big, like, question mark. Like the virtual autism, big question mark there, yeah.
Has your research looked at all at the new wireless AirPods that communicate through the brain to each other wirelessly?
Do you know what I want to get, and I'm going to get? It's one of, I've been needing to get it, and I just haven't taken the time to look at it. I want to get one of those, it's like a, Geiger counter thing. I was speaking in Reykjavik at a conference, and there was all these European researchers there presenting on wireless radiation, and I just came to talk on the other stuff, the impact of screens on kids' development. And it was fascinating because we all got to spend a day together, and we actually launched what we call the Reykjavik Appeal, which is some policy guidelines on radiation on kids' safety. So we got to spend all day together, and we're driving around, and Iceland's like big flat, and you can see a cell tower way down there. So we were watching on this guy Termo had his laptop, and he had the little Geiger counter thing, the radiation meter plugged into the screens, and we could actually see the blips as we would go by a cell tower, and you're all like, oh, look at that, you can see the blip. Well, we all had our phones on airplane mode, of course, because we're all at a radiation conference, so we're being careful. And we're coming back to Reykjavik, and everybody, there were about 12 people in this big vehicle, and we all turned on our cell phones at about the same time, because we're like, oh, these lights went out, and go time for dinner and stuff. And it just went like through the roof. The Termo kept windowing it down, windowing it down, windowing it down. So here's the cell phone tower up, that high, and here's us, turning on our cell phones in the vehicle, right? So all the devices are different. But what I learned at that conference was when you're downloading something or uploading something, that's when your radiation levels peak, as well as when you're further away from a router or a tower, right? So as you're driving, the recommendations that they had is don't leave your cell phone on when you're driving, because as you move closer to the tower, the levels go down. As you start to get away from the tower, the levels go up, right? So everything emits differently. But baby monitors, all these wireless things emit some radiation. So distance and duration are your friends, right? The further away from the device, so every inch you move away from the device, you decrease the radiation by 10%. So I work at my desk, I have a cell phone, of course. I don't have a landline anymore in my office. I mean, why would I? And everything's on the phone, right? But my monitor is there, and I put it at the base of my monitor. And I speak, of course, on speakerphone. Speakerphones are the most wonderful thing, because you can put the device away. And I don't do long distance, calls, like long calls. I'm like, hey, let's Skype you guys, or let's FaceTime, like let's, do it on. So I use my desktop then, which is wired, right? So it's not wireless, it's wired. And so you can cut down on radiation, but I'm not really worried about us as adults. We're pretty cooked, our brains are blue, we're hardwired, our bodies are pretty developed. Yes, we are still having cell turnover. I'm worried about our little kids, so let's not get hung up kind of talking about us so much, but the little guys are who we're really worried about. So we talked about some physical detrimental effects from screens. So what's going on socially? So the more they're connected to the screen, the less social they are with each other. So we're seeing asocial, social phobe, and antisocial kind of behaviors in kids. So social skills are developed by being social. So relational teaching, relational learning is massively important, right? Especially with our disconnected children. So to a large part, with the brain development, we think of the brain as kind of neural real estate or whatever. What we do is kind of who we become in the realm of brain development. So if we do a lot of high intensity, fast-paced, violent stimuli, then that's going to have a translation translation into our behavior. If we're watching more nature shows, educational stuff, and it's slower paced, then we're going to have a totally different brain. So it's really important to kind of build this, and I don't have to talk to you guys anymore about this, you know this, you see this, right? But how it's portrayed itself in our teens is that we're seeing, the guys are getting more drawn to the video games and the porn, and the girls are getting more drawn into the social media. And we're seeing a rising incidence of problems because of that. So I kind of call it the great social divide or whatever, because men and women, boys and girls, are really different in kind of what they're interested in. And what's kind of devious is that the gaming designers and social media designers use what they term persuasive design. So they want you to be addicted. They want you to, use your Facebook and your Instagram and your Snapchats and your video games. They really want that, right? So they play off kind of our weaknesses. And for boys, it's competence. They just desire for competence, right? It's actually not a weakness, but it's a trait, right? For girls, they want to be liked, right? And they don't want to be disliked. So Facebook's all about that, right? And they use psychologists, they employ psychologists, which is really unethical, I think, because they're a medical professional, to design this stuff to be addictive and to kind of grab you in. So we are seeing a lot of issues as a result of this in the realm of addiction and in the realm of being completely social phobic. So these are the referrals I get. 23-year-old in his room 24/7, isn't that at all? Like he's in a 1-liter bottle. So I'm talking the extremes, but that's of course who I get referred to. Girl hasn't been out of the room for 2 years, dropped out of high school. All she does is social media. She's built up all these profiles. She's doing all this, stuff. So it's a real huge problem. So this video game and social media design is actually quite fascinating. I don't know if anyone's heard of Tristan Harris. He used to work at Google. He worked on persuasive design and left, and now he's a huge opponent, and he's kind of divulging all the secrets of what Facebook's doing and what Google's doing to get into your kids' brains, and so they look at what motivates our kids. They develop these triggers, to trigger. If they're worried, like if I'm a girl and I have this desire for this social acceptance, then they're going to be sending me stuff that challenges that makes me feel kind of socially competent. And then I go back on again. It's a hook, right? It hooks the brain and just pulls our kids in. And the other thing is that's kind of interesting is they figured out we don't want to make this stuff too hard. We're not sure we're going to make these games and all the social media stuff pretty easy, right? Because our kids are getting lazy. They're literally getting lazy. They're getting apathetic. I don't really care. Make me. Tell me why I should do this. And teachers are working super hard to try to get kids to do things, right? So with this social media, it's very alluring to young girls, and it's because they're really wanting to be liked. They're wanting social competence. They're wanting to look good and everything. But it's all in breath and no depth. They're not getting it. So you just send me a text. Here's my lunch. I look at it. I'm in crisis. I'm in crisis right now. I'm not getting what I need, which is I want to talk to you. I really want to have a conversation with you, but I'm relegated to this these texts and this little snippets of things. So there's again all this breadth, but not really any depth. And so we really are, I think looking for love in all the wrong places, kind of when we're looking towards social media. But what teens will tell you is they feel very connected. They love this stuff, right? They are the ones who will dispute this with you over and over and over again. But show, if you're talking to teens, show them this on the right, the lower part here. So the Canadian Association of Mental Health just released these findings in 2018 that over 50% of girls are saying they have significant anxiety and depression. But you'll have a hard time convincing them that that's due to their use of social media. You know, they're very, very convinced that this stuff's great. So gaming is, when we look at research, there's a huge amount of causal research, high-level research, showing the links between violent video games and aggression. So meta-analysis studies, right, where this Craig Anderson here, who I quoted in 2010, released a meta-analysis where he looked at over 1,000 studies looking at the links between the association between violent media and aggression, and found like 97% of the studies he studied showed the link, right? So gaming, the gaming industry, or gamers, especially gamer dads, we dispute this a lot in meetings. There's no reason to show that. It's improving their visual motor control. I hear that all the time. So what happens with this gaming use is it is really changing the brain. We are seeing pruning in the frontal lobes. And this just shows you, this is a study that looked at, so our top group was our control group, and so when you look at fMRIs, you want to see lots of lit up areas, right? That means the brain is active. So it looks at blood flow. And so the top row is our control group, so they've never been on video games. I don't know where they found these kids, but they've never been on video games. So before training, and then they started on the video games after a week, after 2 weeks, and then here's our test group at the bottom. And so you can see there's some difference between the before training with our gamers and our non-gamers. But with the gaming group, you can see it just pretty much deadens the brain. So what they're using is they're using one part of the brain, mainly the amygdala, which is like a kind of more brainstem and a little above the brainstem. It's a very primitive part of the brain that responds to stimulus response. It's very reactive, right? So, you know, you move, I shake, you move, I shake, you move, I shake, right? If I'm doing that for hours and hours and hours, the poor frontal lobes get pruned, right? Because they're not being used. So a lot of, you know, adults I work with, they go, well, I was a gamer, you know? Yeah, well, you were doing like Pac-Man or, you know, like my son doing the driving games or FIFA games or whatever. It's really, really changed. So the immersion is far better. And oh my gosh, we're doing the Oculus Rift 3D stuff. We are in the game, right? So it's a really different profile out there of what our gamers today are getting versus, you know, us when we were kids. So GTA 5, Grand Theft Auto 5 is, from my perspective, it's like the worst. Like, so lots of sexual and physical violence, but now in GTA, when they went from 4 to 5, now you can torture, right? And I don't even want to say what you can do, but it's really gross, you know, kind of what we can, what we're up to now. So we have little kids. I worked with a kid 2 weeks ago who was 6 and literally attacking kids in the kindergarten classroom, like launching himself, you know, at kids, right? And doing these chokeholds that, it was quite spectacular. Like he'd jump on a kid, knock him to the ground, put his left hand, you know, across their throat and sucker punch him in the, you know, side repeatedly and viciously. You know, and I remember I was shocked, you know. I went to try to take him off, the other kid, and I'm trying to lift him off, and he's got a grip. He's got his legs around this kid as I'm trying to pull him up, right? So anyway, we're going to get the parents in here, the parents want me to come. You know, I said, no, we have to, you know, this kid's not safe. He's not safe. You know, he's harming other children. He can't be in the school. Like, and you know, I went right into the principal. I was like, and the poor classroom teacher was feeling the K teacher, Veronica, she's so sweet. You know, she was trying to say things like, use your words. You know, and so anyway, the parents come in. Well, he's got 3 older brothers, heavily into GTA 5. He's been playing GTA 5 since he was like really little. GTA 4 and 5, and like all the violent media content. He had 2 older brothers who should have been in school, but they dropped out. So heavily into gaming. And so the parents knew this. The parents tried to take him off, and anyway. So it was, we're seeing a lot of this in the school. So our moderate gamers, which are 4 hours a day, are showing problems, right? But when you get over that 4 hours a day, it starts incrementally getting worse, right? So our neighbor kids are game out type, I game out. What does that mean? I go home at 3 and I game until 4 or 5 in the morning, and then on the weekends they take pride in this, that they can game out all weekend, right? Which means that they don't sleep. So we've got sleep deprivation going, we've got heavy exposure, sexual and physical violence, for long durations, high potency, right, high intensity. And we've got that heart banging like Jesus in the, and so the system stamping that down, creating more cravings. Gaming is really problematic. As is social media, they're both having different ramifications. So Fortnite is every little kid's dream now, kindergartners and whatever. So you need to be 13, it's rated 13 and up, right? And it's really popular in the K-grade ones because it's kind of cartoonish. But look what they do to rope them in, right? So intermittent rewards, just like gambling. So we're not going to reward you predictably. We're going to reward you can't predict. This is going to be an intermittent, so it keeps you going, right? They know the kids like novelty, so they release in the game. And so great, This is what you're talking about. It's very personalized, so when you're in the game, you can change the game. So it's not like things are happening to you. You're in the game making things happen, right? Which, of course, the kids love. Very competitive, very social. One of the things that is getting really ugly is porn. So our kids are getting into it really young, usually around age 6, is the average age where they first view porn. And that's perfectly normal. People often go, but that's where they're, kind of wondering what it is you've got and I've got, and what does that mean and everything. And, so they start asking questions. But now they've got daddy's iPhone or mommy's iPhone, and they can just Google food or whatever, and they're into massive porn, right? So it's very addictive. It's an arousal addiction, of course. And one of the things we're seeing, whether this is good or not, but is kids who get heavily into it literally fry their circuits and end up with erectile dysfunction, right? So there's only so many erections you can have in a day. And what happens is the body goes, too much dopamine, too much adrenaline, I've got to jack this down a bit, And so that's what happens, right? So this is really serious because guys, and I talk openly to anybody from grade 6 up, I talk about porn. And I love it when some of them go with porn, but they don't know. Oftentimes they see it, but they don't really know what it is, right? So, so this is something that is very impactful with your teens, is to talk about erectile dysfunction, why it happens. It's a great biology lesson, right? There's chemistry, there's all this involved, right? But it takes almost a year of abstinence to get it back. So the earlier you have erectile dysfunction, the longer it takes to get it back. And so many kids are going on Viagra because they want to get it back, right? Porn is a really bad problem. Your Brain on Porn is an awesome website by a psychiatrist who works with young males. And it's very, very interesting. So I hope you're thinking about projects for the kids, projects for the teens. You research porn, I want you to research social media, I want to know what's going on with depression. I want you to, so that everybody gets a project, they have to present it. It's a really great way of sort of going, I have this information I'm going to tell you, shove it down your throat, that it's like a creative kind of thing. Because porn is incredibly, drastically destructive to the brain. The brain, when it's addicted, is almost, there's no fires going on in there anymore, right? It's stopped functioning, it's just reactive. So this is SPECT imaging, just showing the difference in the brain structure of porn. Porn's being embedded into Minecraft, into Peppa Pig, into, so this is a very fun thing for kind of really creative people, is they'll pull something off a YouTube video that's on YouTube Kids, and they'll insert a porn piece, or they'll insert a message like, go kill yourself, or kill your brother, or something. So this is, the internet is no longer really a safe place for kids to hang out, right? They're being exposed to things that we have no control over. And we used to trust the internet, but now it's gotten kind of very ugly. And many governments across the world are trying to, I keep hearing about this, Nepal, ban porn, England ban porn, Iceland ban porn, but you can't really ban porn. Like, it's impossible, right? England did this thing where you had to do an application to your government or something to get permission to use, but I mean, it's a World Wide Web, right? So it's, it didn't fall through, or it fell through. So we talked about physical, social, mental, and so we're seeing this isolation is a real factor, right? The disconnect, the detached child, and the bullying is also kind of like it falls in this round of bullying is very, very harmful to children's mental health. There's a lot of it going on our social media sites. So this is just kind of showing that between 2000, this is a rapidly escalating issue, mental illness in our teens. So this, the orange is 2013, 2016. So just in 3 years, our 12 to 17-year-olds have a 64% increase in depression. So that's astonishing, right? So it's going up across the age groups, but rapidly in those young kids. So Jean Twenge is a prolific researcher on social media and young girls. She has a lot of research. She wrote the book IGN. And what she found is that teens that use over 7 hours a day double their risk of suicide. So it's our high users again that we're most concerned about. So the high durations, the intense content is most concerning. This is another graph, showing the U.S. suicide rate. So the dotted line is increasing suicide rates for 15 to 34-year-olds. So they're not happening out there, even though they're going to tell you. So let's say you decide, you don't want kids bullying each other on their, phones in your high school classroom, or doing porn or video games or Facebooking, and you want them to be part of the decision of keeping your phones in their locker, say, not bringing them in the classroom, or the phone hotel, keeping the slots in. This is a really hard thing to get across, and I've sat with many teens talking to them, and they're convinced that they're making this stuff's making them feel more connected. They'll readily admit they're sad, they're depressed, but they won't attribute that to their screens. Their screens are helping them. And I think we do have to listen to this, because I have a blog called Moving to Learn, and I write articles on the blog, and then teens come on and they dispute me. So the gamers, the kids in social media, they will say, you have no idea what you're talking about. This is saving my life, right? This social media, this game, I would be nowhere if I couldn't do this game. And I think when we're hearing stuff like that, we do have to kind of listen to them, right? But my question is, what else could you be doing instead, right? How can we help you have something that's better than? Because you're falling in this virtual hole, and you can't get out. You're telling me you can't get out. You don't know how to get out, right? I'm giving you a hand. You don't want my hand, But if you hang in there for a long time, it's not going to be good. You're already talking about killing yourself, right? Many young kids I work with, they just go on and on. The teacher will go cutting and on about killing himself, right? Like 10 years ago, that would have just went. So, now there's so many of them. They're just kind of going, yeah, you and everyone else. It's something that's hugely problematic, but yet it's so common that we're not really like addressing it and doing things that are going to help them. So the World Health Organization just last year designated gaming disorder as a mental illness, which is massive, because now we can help these kids. Now insurance companies are obligated to pay for care, right? Pay for counseling, pay for residential care. So just to tell you how far behind we are, in China this happened in 2008, and in South Korea this happened in 2009. So we're quite a ways away from the leaders really in this area in knowing what we're doing. So there's really no data, on, I think you asked for sort of some data association between the level of attachment and screen use. There's so many things we have no data on because we're just starting to identify it as a problem. So now the DSM-5 came out, and it got kind of trashed by a lot of psychologists, psychiatrists, right? So in the States, they're moving more toward the, well, here's my next slide, more toward the International Classification of Diseases categorization. So this is WHO's DSM. So for those that don't know what that is, it's a diagnostic and statistical manual for psychiatry, and it's what psychiatrists use to diagnose mental illness. And so there was a 5th edition that came out 2013, I think. And it was heavily criticized because it was so vague, right? Yeah, and it's not, I mean, I have one of my friends who's a psychiatrist that is in Seattle, works in Seattle, right? And she said that they're pretty much everyone's using the IBC categorization stuff now, so I don't know how that is in Canada, they moved to IBC yet, but it is a World Health Organization is the world kind of thing, rather than DSM was kind of more North America based. So they come up with 4 criteria for addiction. And each one of these gets a scale of 1 to 10 rating, right? So you just kind of think of a linear analog scale for each one of these. And then you get a score, and then that tells you whether or not you're addicted. And they're using this scale now in research. So it's fairly well accepted by everybody. So impaired control. So I have a question on control. How many of you feel like you were totally in control of your device and whatever it is you need to do with your device? So the social media, gaming, or whatever. How many of you feel like you were totally driving the bus, you're in control, you don't have any issues like overuse or kind of use? You could go 24 hours without your device. So put up your hands. This is something you're in control. Awesome. So usually it's about 10%. I'd say you guys are more edging toward maybe 20%. So, but 80% of you are, and me included, are admitting we're not really driving the bus. Their life has a bit more of a, impact on us than we would like to think it does. But yet, we were giving these devices to kids, they're bringing it in the classroom, and we're saying, control your device, grow up. They don't have developed frontal lobe yet until 25, right? They're still developing frontal lobes, so they've got that impulse control issue, they've got immaturity, they've got, they make bad decisions, they've got risky behaviors, they've got all those things that are inherently, normal in teens, but we can't control our devices, but we're going, you control your device, right? It's not working. So we actually have a slide later on this afternoon on device management, right? We really have to accept this. They're not going to, manage their devices or control their devices. So this is not, sorry, I didn't go through the other 3. So control. increased priority given to, so that means those 5 alternate activities, they don't have any of those, right? Continuing to want to use it even though they know it's bad for them. So, like come to their table, yeah, kids are addicted, they're not happy. In fact, many of them start to cry, when I'm talking to them, because they don't feel good inside. It feels icky to be addicted, right? It's yucky. And significant life problems, right? So they're failing school, they got fired at work, they can't hold a relationship, they're really poor, role models as a parent or whatever. So this is what's termed an arousal addiction, which is different than substance addiction, right? So drugs and alcohol are substances, gambling, porn, video games, social media, these are all arousal addictions. They get addicted to that dopamine adrenaline rush, right? So you're addicted to the arousal state it gives you. You felt the phone going, I always pick on people in the front. So you felt your phone's in your pocket, and it went, it's on vibrate, and you're going, who is that? Oh, God, she's only going to talk for about 5 minutes, and then I get to go look, right? So the brain gets really super, stunned and kind of like addicted to this stuff, right? And it goes into, you go into that sort of charged state, which is like really fun, and this hyper-aroused state, and they absolutely can't form their words. So many kids, boys, young boys, say, so this so your teacher says that you don't listen, and when she talks, you kind of like don't really, you're not listening because you can't, know what you're supposed to do. So, tell me about that, right? And it's literally, I'm climbing the levels, right? If I play the game in my head on the school, and then I go home, then I can do that, right? They literally have that feeling. Or, I'm saving the world. Like, I've heard this so many times, especially with Fortnite. I'm saving the world. Don't you get it? I'm saving the world. They actually feel like what they're doing in their brain with this repetitive, gaming thing is good for humanity. So let's capitalize on that. Let's give them a job to, help them to feel more important. So the gamer brain, the addictive brain, whether it's social media or any arousal, shopping is another arousal addiction, gambling is not firing for you guys, right? It's a dead brain. And so there's ways that we can kind of work toward improving that. I have one more slide, and then we're going to stop 5 minutes too, just to do questions, and then we'll carry on this afternoon. So last thing is cyberbullying. This is prevalent. It causes people to kill themselves. It's horrible. It's awful. And it's being done right on the school campus, right? So as long as you don't have control over what that kid's accessing, you don't have control over cyberbullying. And I think schools are culpable about this. I think we have to really start kind of going, we want to take control over this and do it. You can't have a no bullying policy if kids are sitting there in that classroom, right, bullying each other on Facebook, right? It's impossible. So it's scary to be bullied. Kids are 8 times more likely to bring a weapon to school if they're bullied. Shooters are bullied, right? School shooters have been bullied, whether they're in the workplace or the school, but that is a profile that's consistent amongst all school shooters. So this whole bullying thing, there's a couple things we can do. Not letting them go on their phones all the time when you can't see what they're doing. More outdoor, interesting, challenging, risky kind of activities that they can do that, that serve that purpose is going to, stop their bullying. So I just want to play this little film clip, and then hopefully we'll have a few minutes left. And this is something, it's not so much for you guys, it's actually a film that you can show your other kids. All these films I'm showing you are on my website, under videos, under educational videos.
I have 422 friends, yet I'm lonely. I speak to all of them every day, yet none of them really know me. The problem I have sits in the space between. Looking into their eyes, write a name on the screen. Took a step back and opened my eyes. I looked around and realised that there's media we call social is anything but when we open our computers and it's our doors we shut. All this technology we have, it's just an illusion. Community, companionship, a sense of inclusion. Yet when you step away from this device of delusion, you awaken to see a world of confusion. A world where we're slaves to the technology we mastered, where information gets sold by some rich, greedy bastard. A world of self-interest, self-image, self-promotion, where we all share our best bits, but leave out the emotion. We're at our most happy with an experience we share. But is it the same? No one is there. Be there for your friends, and they'll be there too. But no one will be if a group message will do. We edit and exaggerate, crave adulation. We pretend not to notice the social isolation. We put our words into order until our lives are glistening. We don't even know if anyone is listening. Being alone is a problem. Let me just emphasise, we read a book, paint a picture, or do some exercise. You're being productive and present, no reserved or recluse. You're being awake and attentive and putting your time to good use. So when you're in public and you start to feel alone, with your hands behind your head, step away from the phone. You don't need stereo when you await the contact list. Just talk to one another, learn to coexist. I can't stand to hear the silence of a busy commuter train where no one wants to talk through the fear of looking insane. We're becoming unsocial. It no longer satisfies to engage with one another and look into someone's eyes. We're surrounded by children who, since they were born, have watched us living like robots and think it's the norm. It's not very likely you'll make world's greatest dad if you can't entertain a child without using an iPad. When I was a child, I'd never be home. Be out with my friends on our bikes with Roma, wear hogs in my trainers and graze up my knees, and build our own clubhouse high up in the trees. Now the park's so quiet it gives me a chill. See no children outside and the swings hanging still. There's no skipping, no hopscotch, no church and no steeple. We're a generation of idiots, smartphones and dumb people. So look up from your phone, shut down the display. Take in your surroundings, make the most of today. Just one real connection is all it can take to show you the difference and the being there. Be there in the moment that she gives you the look that you remember forever as when love overtook. The time she first holds your hand, or first kiss your lips. The time you first disagree, but still love her to bits. The time you don't have to tell hundreds of what you've just done, because you want to share this moment with just this one. The time you sell your computer so you can buy a ring for the girl of your dreams who is now the real thing. The time you want to start a family, and the moment when you first hold your little girl, get to fall in love again. The time she keeps you up at night, and all you want is rest. The time you wipe away the tears as your baby leaves the nest. The time your baby girl returns, a boy for you to hold. The time he calls you granddad and makes you feel real old. The time you take in all you've made just by giving life attention, and how you're glad you didn't waste it by looking down at some invention. The time you hold your wife's hand, sit down beside her bed, you tell her that you love her and lay a kiss upon her head. She then whispers to you quietly as her heart gives a final beat that she's lucky she got stopped by that lost boy in the street. But none of these times ever happened. You never had any of this. When you're too busy looking down, you don't see the chances you miss. So look up from your phone, shut down those displays. We have a finite existence, a set number of days. Don't waste your life being caught in the net, as when the end comes, nothing's worse than regret. I'm guilty too of being part of this machine, this digital world we are heard but not seen, where we type as we talk and we read as we chat, where we spend hours together without making eye contact. So don't give in to a life where you follow the hype. Give people your love, don't give them your life. Disconnect from the need to be heard and defined. Go out into the world, the distractions they like. Look up from your phone, shut down that display. Stop watching this video, live life the real way.
So we're going to move into cognitive development after the break. So you guys can come back at quarter after, and we'll start with 5 minutes of questions at quarter after. And by the way, I'm actually giving you slides to stuff. So if there's parts of these that you want to show to your class, right? So you've got high school students like definitely strongly suggest taking chunks out and using them to show them. Okay. Yes. No, what I'm saying is the actual slide. wake up.
step up and advocate for our children, for our students, for our mothers and fathers, so that we have a list that they can stand on when it comes to enforcement with respect to the situation of the kids.
Right. So you got to look at who those different bodies respond to, right? Like I'm a regulated professional. I respond to the Canadian Association of Practitioner Therapists, right? There's a physician body. There's the pediatrician body. So the pediatricians are definitely very regulators, far ahead of everybody else, right, in this realm, right? So the American Academy of Pediatrics issued their first warning in 1999, 2002. If you go back to that slide that's showing the recommendations, they keep reissuing the same recs, right? So when did the Canadian Pediatric Society join in? 10 years later. So 2010, they came out and reiterated what the American Academy of Pediatrics, So in 2010, they came out and said to their pediatricians, okay, we got to start, calling this in, reading it in, doing text screens. So if you have a kid come, they got a behavior issue, they go to a pediatrician should be doing the text screen, right? Is this behavior associated with the screen abuse? Nope. Okay, then let's start looking at some organic issues for why this might be happening. Yes. Okay, here's some interventions, right? So that's just starting. Again, it takes a long time. I've been doing this for almost 25 years, right? And 25 years ago, we had this much data. Now we've got this much data, and it's accumulating rapidly. And there's so much in the media now. Media's now reporting on it. 5 years ago, media was pretty carrying the rest. I got 3 interviews just for me here, 2 newspaper and a radio interview. So, they're getting more interested in this stuff, right? And we can wish that they take more interest and responsibility and control, and they are what I call our remote authority. We want to invoke remote authority when we're talking to parents. Well, pediatricians say, this, right? Because they are a revered body of medical professionals, but they're not quite there yet. But it is happening. I got really depressed about 5 years ago. Now I'm not depressed anymore. I mean, there's a lot that's going on. So please don't feel like you're alone in this. I don't feel like I'm alone at all. I've got I'm part of many different committees. One of which is screens in schools. With the CCSC down in Boston, so the commercial childhood group, I'm part of a subcommittee that they formed called Screens in Schools that really actually looks at all this research. So it's really fun because I get to hang with a lot of people that are kind of very concerned and interested in this area. So what are we seeing? We're seeing problems paying attention and can't pay attention and can't learn. So attention's key, but all these devices are competing with you for that kid's attention, right? So we're in what's termed an attention deficit society. There's another term that's batted around us. We have an attention economy. Facebook's vying for your kid's attention. Instagram, Snapchat, like WhatsApp, they're all kind of vying for kids' attention, and our kids are kind of losing out. So this is actually was sent to me by one of the Institute people yesterday. So this is very true. So this stuff is designed to be addictive, and the ed tech, the educational technology, for many years was being touted as, as good as a video game. Let's make education like a video game because kids like video games, right? And so the pacing of the content is something that we've been finding recently, really, that it's really hard on the brain, and that's what's impacting greatly on the brain. So on one hand, we're wanting them to, get off this stuff, and on the other hand, we're giving them this stuff And it's very confusing for kids when we go, here's a screen, do your work on it. When it's connected to the internet, you go on Facebook, right? The screen to kids, what does the screen mean is actually a good question. What does the screen mean? What do you do on the screen? Is helping them to understand that it actually can be used, for educational purposes. So, real learning versus virtual learning are two kind of different things. And I kind of look at it like if you contrast the three-dimensional world that we live in, which is real, and the two-dimensional world, which we spend inordinate amounts of time in, which is virtual. They're two different stimuli, right? So when we're using things like blocks and books and papers and scissors and, we're using manipulatives to teach math, abacus, boards and snap cubes and stuff, that's a different type of learning they're going to get from a two-dimensional screen. So we need to understand that. And we need to understand that while screens have tremendous promise to teach amazing things to our kids, there's also perils, right? When we understand the perils, which is what I'm about, I'm not here to tell you all the great things you can do with screens. I'm assuming you know that. You're going to figure that out from someone else. It's not my area of expertise. I'm here to help you to understand the perils so you can access the promise, right? So managing the perils is really important to get to the promise. So, yeah.
What's your view on screen schools?
That's what we're doing right now.
A lot of this I understand the effect on the children. I've been forced to get rid of screens, period. A lot of this would be solved, I don't think it should be in a class, which looks wild. What are the ways to...
Someone's clapping again. So here we have this end of the spectrum. And I'm not going to ask for a show of hands or whatever, but we also have this end of the spectrum, right? And then we've got everything in between. And evidently I was talking to the superintendent at lunch. And so, what was the superintendent? Yeah. So, there's a lot of different opinions. And that's why I've been brought here, right? And so, I'm going to tell you at the end. I want to answer your question at the end. What would I do? But I'm not really here to tell you what I do or I would recommend. I would need research to tell you that that's what should be done, right? I have definitely my opinions. And so I'll kind of tell you at the end, but I want to give you guys the information to then make this informed decision. And this is going somewhere after I leave. So please that's why I'm here. And I'm just going to let Stephanie speak to that at the end, right? So that what we want to do is get everybody on the same page. That's probably going to be impossible. But my suggestion is to move toward policy, right? So it's all over the map now. I can tell you what's going on all over the world, actually, with screens in schools. But I am committed to giving you the research so that it kind of backstops. So let me just keep going, and we'll kind of get to that slide that where I propose a policy, right? But that doesn't mean that you guys have to decide on that policy, because there's other people here too that are seeing that promise, right? So you're kind of seeing the peril. Other people are just seeing the promise. I don't want to know about the peril. So I want you to all at least have this information to make these decisions. So we know for quite some time that rapidly paced violent content is really hard on the brain. The brain can't process, not only can't process the content, but shuts down when we present rapid violent media content. So this is a study done by University of Washington. He's a pediatric researcher. He's actually head of the APA, of the American Pediatric Association, prolific researcher in this area, mainly of early screenings. So he showed SpongeBob's to a group of 4-year-olds for 9 minutes. So he wanted to measure their cognition, changes in their executive functioning. And so he thought, well, I'll start at 9 minutes, because probably we won't see any changes until 30 minutes. But I got 9 minutes and 12 minutes, that's what researchers do, right? So he saw significant changes, meaning 1 standard deviation difference after 9 minutes of SpongeBob's in their ability to remember, pay attention, and their distractibility. So those are the 3 parameters we measured. So SpongeBob's has a screen change every second. Boom, 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 right? So he did 2 control groups. One was he showed them Caillou, which is a very more placid cartoon. It's actually really mind-numbing. It's such a dumb cartoon. But it has much slower pace, screen change every 11 seconds, no change in executive functioning. And then the third group, painted a picture and moved picture and no change, right? So this is very, to me, this is one of the first, this was done in 2011, the first studies that really started documenting what I was seeing, is that, I posed this question years ago to people, like, can the brain actually move that fast in a functional way, right? Or are we dumbing down the brain by presenting high-speed, media content? So one of the other things that to bring to teachers' awareness is that when they're on these screens and you think they're doing, whatever, if you're not monitoring what they're on, 97% of the time they're on entertainment-based stuff, right? So I really believe you've got these kids for 6 hours or whatever, they're using, if you're in high school, 9 hours a day, when they go home on average, shouldn't we be letting them use entertainment and social media at school? I don't think there's any place for that, but it's very difficult. With handheld, you cannot manage what they're on. You have no control of the handheld of what they're watching, right? And this whole thing about multitasking is a myth, is the brain cannot multitask. The brain partial tasks. So if I have multiple devices, so I've got my laptop in front of me or my tablet, and we're doing some sort of assignment, and I've got my cell phone sitting there, and the teacher's talking, there's someone next to me I'm supposed to be doing a project with, I'm giving a quarter of my attention to each of those devices, right? And studies are showing that cell phone on the desk, whether it's on or off, is very distracting because I'm giving partial attention to that phone. I'm wondering what the heck's going on there, I'm seeing it vibrate, and I go, what, So I talked to one teacher who expects them to work for 20 minutes and then allows them to access their device, and I would challenge how much of the brain that teacher has for the 20 minutes, right? How much, if we think of the brain like a pie, how much is going to, this vigilance that they have for that device, right? So they're vigilant to the device, vigilant to looking at the device. Each time they move off what they're working on, they have to reorient back to the task, right? And so the productivity is lower, when we've got the cell phones there. So also, this multitasking is hard on the brain, hard on the body. It wasn't designed. We haven't biologically adapted to these devices. So it's not really working for our brain's body. So we're seeing cognitive deficits, multitask. There's a lot of research on this, and meta-analysis type research, meaning analysis of all the research. So when we're talking causal, we're getting closer when we're seeing meta-analysis data, right? So neurological changes, I talked about the holes in the front lobes, literally, we're losing brain, right? Decreased self-control, increased impulsivity, depression, anxiety, which we've already looked at the data. So this is another thing, is if this is helping us, these screens in schools, it's actually making performance better, then we should see that. And so the PISA scores are done by the OECD. They're international studies of grade 9s. They're done every 3 years. And they look at the reading and the math and the science performance, right? So there's 73 countries now that are part of the PISA. So Canada went down in 2015. The 2013 or 18 PISA scores have not yet been released. So they're still collating the data on the 18th. I'm very interested to see the 2018. They'll be released in December of 19 of this year. So we're going down, the US is going down, we should be going up. So a very interesting paper to read is the OECD wrote a paper on their thoughts around screens in schools. Because what they found was that schools that are using the lowest screens, China, Shanghai, are less than an hour a day, are actually getting the highest PISA scores. And the schools that are using high screens, Australia, for example, is one that uses 3 hours a day, low PISA scores. So I'm not saying, again, there's a causal piece here. It's just, we really should be looking at outcomes, academic outcomes. Are we improving our academic outcomes? Or is something else going on? So again, it's not that the screens are bad or the content on the screens is bad content, it's that we can't manage it. The only way we can manage it is to take it away from the kids, right? And they don't have the maturity to manage it themselves, and 80% of you guys said you didn't have the maturity to manage it. You didn't have the maturity, and you said you can't manage it. You know, they're really difficult to manage. I don't manage mine very well, right? They're hard to manage, they're very addictive. They're being turned digital heroin because of the addiction, you know, of the screen. So in your school, there's teachers who are addicted to screens. There's parents who are addicted to screens, right? I'm here to talk about the kids, but, you know, really check yourself and kind of go, do I have an addiction? Is that why I'm using lots of screens? You know, because it could be. So kids are using them for long durations or watching inappropriate content. You know, we're seeing addictions. The other things that I'm seeing is screens are being used as behavior reinforcers, right? So if you do your work, then you get your screens. Or if you do some work, if you come, it's getting really bad for some schools, right? If you come to school, you know, before 10:30, before you recess, then I'll let you play video games if you give me 5 minutes of work. I mean, I really believe this stuff here, right? So when we reward kids with screens, we're feeding the beast, we're feeding the addiction, we're feeding that, you know, so the body's kind of got damped everything down and they're needing more and need more and need more, you know, we're giving it to them. We're giving it to them, we're giving it to them, you know, and so we're just kind of feeding the addiction cycle, right? So is there a way we can start turning this around and using internal motivators, right? Using purposeful activity, let's go out on the trails, let's, you know, bring your bikes tomorrow, we'll all go for a bike ride at lunch. Is there a way that we can give them that challenge that they need, engage them more with each other socially, relate more, collaborate more, those sorts of things that kids love. They do, but they're really drawn to the screen. So it's sort of like, you know, if I got a cocaine addiction and you say, well, hey, we'll just give you a little snort, just a little tiny snort every hour. How's that for you, right? Okay. But then now I'm going to want it to happen. It just gets worse. It's, what's the short-term gain, long-term gain model, right? When you're using screens as reinforcers. The other thing is, screens do not achieve literacy. Literacy rates are dropping. Math, I read about math in Ontario. Like, you guys are worried about the math scores, right? So, literacy is, if we talk even just about printing, printing is a motor skill. Printing has to be practiced. Printing is really important. Like, how many of you guys print at least 5 times a day? Pick up a pencil at least 5 times a day. Okay, if you're doing it, we better be teaching it, right? So we thought when we put in the typewriter, oh, we don't have to screen anymore, and then, you know, all these pads come out. Your kids are going to have to learn to print. We're doing it all the time, but we're not teaching it. On average, teachers are teaching it 13 minutes a day, and they're not doing a very good job of it. So printing is a precursor to reading. You know, we made the letter A. You know, it looks like that. My visual memory, my vision system's taking a picture of it. It's storing it as a memory. I go to read. I see the letter A. I go, oh, that's A. And it's the A sound. You know, it all kind of goes together. Spatial concepts are so in deficit with our kids. we're really seeing a problem with them understanding the three-dimensional world. So, they should be outside building forts and, doing things in a community constructional manner, right? And what I'm talking about here is creating a foundation for literacy. So I have a slide on the foundation for literacy. Is early on, we want to be doing the 3D things, right? So K to grade 3, by the end of grade 3, the kids should be literate. They should be grade level for math, reading, printing, or writing, and then we start introducing screens. But we're introducing screens way too early, and we're expecting them to get literate, and then by grade 4 or 5, we're going, this kid's really bad in math. I cannot believe, because when I sit down and go, okay, so let's see where you're at. Are you okay with, this is a grade 7 or something, 2-digit addition? Yeah, 3-digit addition, yeah. What about, subtraction? What about, multiplication and then division by that age? If they haven't got the foundations, they have a clue what division really means, much less, how to do it. So, I'm seeing some really huge issues. Reading. So I'm going to talk now about reading and screens. Reading, if we want deep meaning from reading, if we want the kid to absorb that concept and simulate it, and extrapolate, and apply it to some, project we're going to have them do, screens just don't work for that. So screens are fast, and they scan, and they move around a lot, and they don't get that deep meaning that we need for critical thinking. So this is just a study by Marianne Wolf, who adopted this term biliteracy, which I really like. So anyway, what she found, she looked at paper, digital, and animated books. And so, what do you think the kids like the best? These are little kids. Paper. And what did the child learn from? So where do we get good retention, good memory of the concepts? Paper. Yeah. So we think, and you know what? Marianne Wolf, I don't know if you've ever read any of her stuff, but she's a prolific researcher on reading, and she's very critical of the screens and for early reading. And what she found in this is that there's a lot of things going on here. It's not just the screen and the paper. It's that when the mom or dad's reading to their kid's on the lap, they got a book open. They're fighting on who's going to turn the page. There's more interaction. She measured the levels of interaction between her and child, far higher with the book, lower with like a Kindle, and even lower with the animation. Because the parents like, well, it's watching the thing, it's back out of here, right? So teachers are so important. Teachers teach, screen literacy. Is the teacher and the parent are so important in the learning process. I often say, without the flesh and blood teacher, can you learn? Can you learn from a screen? Really learn? I mean, that thing I went through. Can you absorb that information, simulate it, process it, apply it to something else? Probably you can, but not early on. So there's a whole bunch of research that's been around for quite a few years now on the difference between screens and books. And I won't get into this totally, but memory's lower, comprehension's lower, attention is lower. You're not attending because you're skimming, then learning, right? So we're at a meta-analysis stage now with screens versus books and paper. So this is a study that was released really recently by Virginia Clinton. Again, just saying exactly what I just said. So you're going to get lower comprehension when you use a screen. Does that mean you shouldn't use a screen? Not necessarily. But when we're creating the foundations for literacy, you really got to rethink kind of what you're getting out of that, right? Is it just you're entertaining the kids, So again, Marianne Wolf brought this term in, and I kind of used it in beefed it up a little bit to kind of start talking about what are we going to do with this information. So she's saying literacy first, like reading, printing, math, literacy first, right? So we want to create a literate brain for books and paper and math concepts, science, whatever. And then we want to start building computer literacy, screen-based literacy, right? And that is taught differently. So you now need to become proficient in teaching screen learning, right? Because it's different. It has its perks. The promise is it's got perils, right? So you want to kind of start thinking about these types of learning in two different realms. So here's just some examples, right? 0 to 5. One of those kids really wow. Tons of studies. Finland has the highest literacy rate in the world. They're really focused in the preschool ages on motor stuff. Motor social is what they really focus on, right? Want to build motor skills, so they have a strong core, good bilateral integration, and then hands talking to each other, eyes are talking to each other, right? So that happens out on the playground, actually. So then, we bring them in to K to 3. We want to get those literacy foundations. My next slide will show you what that is. We want to get the 3D concepts. Then we start using media to enhance learning, right? You're the teacher, you're teaching, but you can enhance your program, whatever it is that you're doing. A piece of, screen media might be really appropriate to enhance what it is you're doing, right? And then we expand, from there. So this is just a little triangle graphic that I made for really trying to understand what are the literacy foundations. So this is an occupational therapist telling you this. Okay, a psychologist would have a different triangle. Cognitive therapists would have a different triangle, right? So I'm into motor and spatial, sensory stuff, right? So for spatial, kids have to understand distance, and force. I have to throw it this hard to, if you catch it, and direction. I'm throwing in front of me, I'm throwing behind me. I need to understand all these things, left, right, top to bottom, before I start working on doing math, doing printing, and even doing reading. You have to have spatial concepts down. We have to have strong core, good motor coordination, so our motor units have to be good. We have to have some attention, of course, and we have to be able to channel that attention and concentrate, and we have to be able to have, a memory piece there. We're gonna learn our letters and that kind of stuff. So that moves into then we create visual motor by hand, visual memory. I can remember that that's an A. Motor memory, I make the A 1 billion times. And then pretty soon I can make the A with my eyes closed because my motor units have memorized how to make the A. So printing needs to be strategic, needs to be repeated over and over and over again. Handing a child a worksheet with dot-to-dot A's on it does nothing for teaching motor memory. Because I can put all those little pieces together lots of different ways, and that's what I learned. And I never learned it right, we put it together, right? So then we move on, we start integrating all of those skills that we learn, and then we become literate, right? So these little bubble things out there is boredom. Good. It's good to be bored. Boredom is the origins of creativity, right? You don't have to entertain children. Children have to be doing something all the time. They should be able, self-regulating. They need lots of play. Monotonous tasks over and over and over again. Rainbow writing on the chalkboard, with the chalk, making the A, 100 different times, right? Silence, buildings again. These are all things that support literacy. So another area about screens, and this is huge now. Canada is suing, taking Facebook to court, right, for breaches, data breaches, is check out what you're doing at schools. Because a lot of the programs that you've been given to, Zuckerberg and his Chan Foundation gave away a bunch of stuff to schools, are mining your students' privacy and data, right? So know what you're doing with your data collection systems at school. Because many parents have no idea what is being leaked out to these agencies, right? It's really interesting. I can't remember the researcher's name, but it's on another slide. She looked at 33 different ed tech provider agencies. So the big ones are Google and Facebook and there's Summit Learning, all these different people, and none of them really cared about student health. None of them had any guidelines in there for don't use this very much because it's not good for your kids to sit, right? So they really don't have a vested interest in your child's health, in your child's privacy, in your child's data, other than mining it to sell to somebody, and to use it in a bad way. So this is the reverse kind of our little triangle, just kind of showing this just encapsulates everything that we talked about. So the sedentary, isolative, kind of overstimulating, neglect aspects that are going on, the screens are turning a not sustainable child. A child who's going to have difficulty with relationships and with getting jobs and with even completing school. So, what are we doing for time? So it's 10 to 2. So we're moving now into interventions. And why don't we just have a Q&A for just a bit to see if anybody has any questions. So we covered a lot of ground here on the research. We talked about physical, social, mental, and now we just finished cognitive. And so we're moving into interventions. The interventions are school-based. So they'll be in the classroom, gym, recess, playground, and some policy sort of recommendations for what you might want to do. But again, you guys are going to create something. Your school is going to, or not. But hopefully somebody's going to be more helpful for kids. Okay. So I don't have any, do most school boards already have policy in place? I don't have any surveys to show you. They think, this is my comment, is they think they do. But what's happening is really the teachers are left up to their own kind of whims, right? So if you're a tech-centric teacher, you might be using 4 hours a day, out of a 6-hour day. If you're well, they call you tech pros, right? But you're not. You're a teacher that actually values what you do and thinks you can do better than screens, and screens aren't really working. You might use nothing, right? So it's across the board, and there's a lot of problems right now with students in schools. So we see boards saying, let's ban them all. Well, let's ban not all screens, let's ban cell phones from schools, right? And then you have to somehow deal with that, right? Are you going to do that? Are you not? France banned them last year, September 18, or heavily restricted them, not banned them. California is moving toward that, Maryland, Wisconsin. There's a lot of states that are, Maryland did a cool thing. They brought in help to the schools, and they mandated education to listen to help. So they said, you know what? So that's kind of me, right? I'm here trying to help, and I thank gosh for Stephanie because I raised your awareness around the health concerns that we have around screens and brain and body development, right? So I think that's an important move that you guys are way ahead of the game. I mean, I was in Christopher for last week, doing exactly the same thing for the whole district. Parent workshop, teacher of the week. But Canada's a big country. I would say maybe I've done that 10 times, in my career. So it's all across the board. I'm here. You're saying your school is saying we're concerned, we're interested, we want to know more. Why else would I be here, right? I'm assuming that's why I'm here. So you are way ahead, and pat yourself on the back for that, right? But you're in a tough place. So when I was speaking with the superintendent this morning, I called it a quagmire. You're in kind of this big quagmire, but there is a way out. But it's working together that's going to move us beyond, right? So again, so we get to the promise. We're just all caught up now in perils. And many people aren't even, I don't want to know about perils, right? Don't tell me about that. And they shut down on it, right? So, to answer your question.
In discussion with our board, so I don't know if anybody from the board can speak, perhaps you can, Steph. We've gone from having one-to-one on certain grade levels. Now that's been pushed back. Where are we as a board with that? And what's the plan moving forward? Because it's our senior students that seem to be struggling to get support when they need it, but then the younger kids have them and they're not using them necessarily the way they should be using them. So I'm just curious where we are as a board with that and what's happening moving forward.
Is there anyone here from your board?
Steph would be the closest.
Oh.
This is just funny because Tracy was a commissioner at the Sergeant, so a lot of these questions I overlook to you. You do know that we have one-to-one Chromebooks from grades 4 to 8. There's like these are my teacher list. One-to-one Chromebooks from grades 4 to 8, and then in the high school we have bring your own device. When we brought these into schools, it was as a tool. There was never any mandate. You have to use them. There was never any requirement of you have to use them X amount of hours a day. If they sat on your counter and collected dust, so be it. But like Chris said, this is something that we are obviously looking at, and we happen to say we invited him here before for to make his little blog about no cell phones. So we're kind of ahead of the game in that sense. So we're hoping that more comes from this, and we're taking all of the information that Chris has to present, and we're going to the big leagues.
So if anybody, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead to say that, but you know, like if people wanted to be on, say, a committee to move this forward, so what I talked about with the superintendent is maybe a committee of teachers. There should be a couple parents on there. Definitely should be some kids. A couple different, ages of kids. Because you're talking about increasing access to healthy activities. So what do they think that is? What do they think about this? One of the slides I have, I didn't get to the bottom of it, but 92% of our teens are actually saying they prefer books and paper. But they're not going to tell you that. That was a survey done by Naomi Bland in 2018, I think it was, right? So they were kind of saying for learning, they actually learn better, but they're not gonna tell you that. You're gonna take your phone away, So they're I'm addicted to my phone, but actually I prefer reading the book, or learning on the whole book thing. So we should get kids on that committee and ask the kids what they want, what they think they learn best from. Not really what they want, what they learn best from.
Really love that point. I think that's very important that we do hear from the student body for sure, and like you say, different age levels. It'll be interesting to see what the board does, and if they do ask the students as well where their perspectives are, whether it be surveys or whatever. Because what I'm finding, so I was out of the classroom for 4 years in Steph's position. Now I'm back in the classroom and I'm teaching grade 11 and 12. And my 11 and 12s, when they have to do an assignment where they have to write an essay or something, and it has to be typed and put in to make sure there's no plagiarism, etc. They're to the point, some of them, that have to use handheld devices because there are no devices for them, but then the younger kids have them and they're not utilizing them, and their comments are, what about us? We're the ones who are,
So how does, facilitating this discussion right now, I have a flip chart, and I'd be writing up, so distribution of devices, is it everyone happy with that? Having kids that aren't, they're too young, and they're not using, and then there's older kids who
using them in a more productive way instead of, like you say, entertainment.
Yes.
Using them in a productive way.
Yeah. This is a massive amount of work to be done here. When I was in Prince Rupert, which was that was like about 6 months ago, I was tasked with creating tech policy. So we say 45 minutes in the end, we got this day, right? And then the 45 minutes in the end, and oh my gosh. So, the polarity thing, the teachers at this end and this end were really vocal, right? Then there was like a lot of people in between. We didn't get very far at all, right? So we came up with some directives, that's a plan of where to go from there. But there's a lot of different opinions. But hopefully now you've got some data to make some informed decisions, right? Good decisions. So but it's a bit of a mess right now, everywhere, from the board level, or from our student government to the board to the, yeah.
When I think about it, I think about my stack of like 19 iPads in my classroom that have been collecting dust forever. Because I'm like, oh, we got to really learn how to read and write when we go on the screen. So those just kind of stay over here until we got it, and then we can look at doing some other things. But I think about your kids and that stuff. I'm not sure myself.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that there's nobody from board here. I'm not sure if the outside communities have any administrative people here. But essentially, I've been asking to get this on for several years. I've been asked on to get board meetings, so on and so forth. It's easy for us to have to get this information. However, it's the top level that makes the decision. And a lot of the stuff that whether I choose to use it or not, or the other getting there, so on and so forth, it's not going to be the administration that is pushing it.
So what the superintendent said is to work with your principal when I brought this forward. Because all the people making the decisions about this stuff have the least amount of information, right? So what do we need to do there? We need to get them that information. So I'm giving Stephanie these slides. Any of you can go to Stephanie and say, give me a sector of those slides. I'm gonna go for a meeting with the board, or form a group. I would really suggest to form a group of like-minded people, but also people that are, you've got the spectrum here. Because I do believe there's promise again in the screens. We're just not managing them well, so we got ourselves into this mess. And now we start managing them and figuring out who's going to get them, like you say, allocating it appropriately, what kind of content are we going to use. One of the big issues that I'll get into this afternoon is, well, actually, I'm just going to move forward now because we have another 15 minutes, don't we? Or 10 minutes? Okay, so evidently the teachers are allowed to go after 15, and but I still have all my initiatives to present, right? So I'd encourage you to stay if you're a teacher because I've got a lot of good ideas here. So I've got another 5 minutes, so I'm gonna zip through a few of these. So because this gives the general flavor of what we're kind of what we're moving toward is. One of the most important things when we're making these decisions is we want to do no harm, right? We want to think, who are we talking about here? Why are we here? We're here for the kids, right? Here for the kids, and we do not want to do harm. What that means is if there's a kid with an addiction to screens, do we really want to put that kid on more screens? Maybe that's a kid we should call back with it and, put with the group and promote their social skills, right? So working to make sure our kids are safe. We don't want to do things that are going to harm them, right? So the other thing is that I encourage, and I talked to the superintendent about doing, I have a one-page form that's a data collection tool in order to figure out what are people using. So it goes through all the different devices and the different grades, and so you just, as a teacher, would fill in what are you using and about how much a day, so that people that are making these decisions can kind of see where that spectrum is lying, right? So what are people using? So coming up with kind of a general plan, how are we going to move forward? So again, you can't make informed decisions without the information, so make sure people that need the information get the information somehow, right? Quantify, I already talked about that. start looking at your problems. How many kids have screen-related problems? Use the 10 red flag thing that's in your tech toolkit, right? Kind of go through your kids. It's pretty easy just to do. It takes about, whatever, after you do the 5th one, right? You probably spend less than a minute for each of the kids in your class to see who's got issues, right? Do we want to make these interventions? Like, let's say, you're saying kind of just get rid of these cell phones, right? Let's say you've got a classroom that doesn't have many problems. That's kind of not really out there anywhere, but we want to make our decisions based on code-based, decision making, right? So we want to address the problems that we're wanting to, so we want to identify, where they are. Kind of figure out some rules, and this is something that with the superintendent, what I talked about, as I said, it's really good for everybody to be on the same page. So if I'm a kid, and I go to your classroom, and you've got that, well, you put it on your desk, and for 20 minutes you got to do your work, and then you get to, and you've got the, it goes into the hotel, and you say to me, I've got to leave it in my office, or in my locker. Like, I'm really confused, consistent with behavior plans. Consistency is the number one thing. I'll get on the same page, right? If you're doing a different intervention than you, I know I'm going to keep on with this behavior because, you guys are all messed up, right? And I'm going to keep doing whatever it is I want to do. So we do have to kind of work toward consistency, and I think this is reachable. Maybe not in our lifetime, but I think it is. And then start getting some help too, because there are some kids who are off the rails. Like that little 6-year-old who was, jumping kids and putting them in a chokehold and sucker punching them. He was off the rails. And so at some point, we have to determine when a behavior isn't safe and know what to do and pull in the supports, right? So this is just a basic principle, is children who overuse screens, who are addicted to screens, they don't have a very happy life, right? So we know they're reporting, 50% of them are saying I'm depressed or, anxious, or gamers are not, they're not happy creatures, right? So do we want to take something away from them, or can we somehow reframe it so that, hey, instead of screen, you get to do this thing, right? We're gonna all go out on a trail ride, or we're gonna build trails out in the forest, or we're gonna build a tree fort, or we're gonna build other forts, or we're gonna help the little kids do this or that, or whatever, right? So we wanna, these are kids, the kids are struggling, they're really struggling with real life issues, right? And so try not to make it punitive. I know that's hard, but, try and, again, even pulling kids from the student council or whatever, in on this committee, you're creating a democracy, right? You're giving them a voice. They go back to their peers and they go, hey, on this committee, they're wanting to take away cell phones, but they gave me this survey, and I got to survey you guys, find out what you think about that, they're interested in what we think, no, they're not, yeah, they are, really, so there's different ways we can kind of move into this area, right? So really asking yourselves too, what is this stuff doing? Really looking at the risks and the benefits, and being self-critical or self-evaluative of what is it doing for you? It's not what it's doing for you, but what is it doing for the kid? Kind of watching, using some screen-based intervention one day, the next day not. Look at the difference, measure something, measure productivity. Did they get started on their work? Did they do their work? Did they finish their work? So you might want to start with something like, well, instead of showing them that movie on the Titanic, because we're studying something, icebergs or whatever, we're going to go out, we're going to fill a big bucket of water, put some ice cubes in it, do some sort of, I don't know, I'm just making this stuff up, but some sort of experiment on chip hitting the ice cubes, I don't know. But you're moving towards something slightly different, like a 3D relational, interactive social model, right? For this, whatever the point you want to get across. And see the difference. So then what would you measure? So they have to write 3 sentences on their understanding of icebergs or something like that. And evaluate those 2 things, right? So really look at it critically. And because there are things, probably, that a movie or a screen is going to help them with, and then there's things that it's not. We are overusing in schools to a huge degree, and we're using way too much with the younger kids. So by the time they get to high school, they've got 0 attention, ability. Okay, we're going to stop there, but we're coming back again at 3:25, right?
We're just going to ask you, even if you're staying until the end of the day, if you could please fill things out. It's really valuable for Chris, and then she's able to share that information with us as well. And if you don't know, we also have they're for parents, but they're applicable to anyone that are available through the board. So there's a stack here too, just about screen time use. So I am going to.
And I'm very sorry, but Stephanie told me, I guess some time ago in an email, that the teachers were leaving at 3:15, but I was cued in that I had till 4:30, so I kind of structured everything differently, kind of. But anyway, so we are going to get into the classroom, playground, gym, and community-based interventions to reverse this.
2010, it was a little bit of technical classroom, 2012, it was blended classroom with technical hardcore, kids there right from the mark. 2019, more outside, if you flip it around, my school just pushed it down the line. Started this year, we have no internet in the school. There's no internet in school whatsoever.
What grade?
It's a K-12 school.
Everybody needs to listen to what these guys are going to tell us.
Can't hear.
Are the finance guys?
So he works in the just giving our all a recap, which may be my out there.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So it's a K-12 school. There's no internet in the school. The computer lab has no internet.
Since September?
Since September of this year. The teachers have no internet. The only people with internet in the school are the finance person and the education director. The principal doesn't even have internet. So none of us have internet. Teachers have been told that there's no hotspotting on their computers either. Phones are not allowed to be used in the classroom, even by staff, unless it's an emergency. So if a staff member has their phone on them, they get dinged for it, and they get told off by the director. So phones, I work on a first station for the best heroes. So our phones have stayed in our backpacks in our classroom. We can't have them out. And it's actually forced all the teachers to get back to non-screen teaching. So we have smart boards in the classroom that we can use to do a PowerPoint presentation or something like that. But you can't do anything with videos because you can't work out YouTube at a moment's notice.
So tell us what you see.
I know that my 7-8s, because I teach 7 to 12. I teach 7 8 in the afternoon and I teach high school in the morning. My 7, 8, 9, 10 students that I teach right now, they hate it when I spend too much time on a PowerPoint. They will tell me, Sasha, shut up and let's have a discussion and let's talk about it. And my grade 7, 8 said, can we build things instead of showing an animated example on PowerPoint? So I actually gave them possible space to build earthquake-safe buildings instead of showing them what a design looks like. They took possible sticks out of my hand and designed it themselves. So, as much as I hate to say this, it works in our school to just rip the internet out of the building. Now, it wasn't our fault that we don't have any internet. That's something going on between Bell Canada and Reserve. But it was sheer job one, and all the teachers are forced to go back to practice.
I think it's fascinating to look at grades. There's really
I don't know about elementary because we don't do standardized testing in elementary. QAO is not done. But we did mock QAO for grade 9 math. high school is here at the start of the year, and 2 months ago, March increased by 25%.
Oh my God.
And that's
I
not just
have
the
a
rate,
pile of
that's just
researchers
not
who
the rate
want to talk to
that's
you.
just not the rate nine things we do. It's
Wow.
grade 12, we did the same grade 12, grade 9 math test to all of high school, 9 to 12.
I got bloody chills running up and down my body.
So,
Wow.
I just find it
25%.
over the last 10 years, it's just gone from a little bit of tech in the classroom to lots of tech, and now you're seeing the tech out of the classroom. In the span of the last 10 months, 9 months, we've been forced to take tech out of the classroom. Yeah, there's a lot of growing pains for a lot of teachers. A lot of them are using PPEs and to try and get over this. Oh my God, what am I doing? But eventually it worked. So I don't know if administrators want to rip the internet out of school for 6 months and see what happens. But I know it worked on our school. It's K-12 school.
When you're done, you come up here. We'll type out your contact info and I'll put it on a slide. And then, no, I want to write a paper with you.
Let people talk to you and
No, but this is so rare. This is so rare that we have that kind of data, right? And that's the kind of thing, this is the hardest thing about this whole area, is we don't have a control group anymore. We don't have, you created your own control group and you can do an ABAB study, which you're comparing the grades to last year, right?
no, just to September 2018 to March. Just those 7 months.
7 months, but you can use that as a comparative to earlier, right? So yeah. So that's really kind of interesting, isn't it? 25%. Oh. So that's really what we should be seeing if we're using screens in schools. We should be seeing that. We shouldn't be seeing PISA scores going down. We should be seeing, does that mean screens in schools are bad? I don't know. Does it mean we're not using them properly? Probably. So again, I'm hearing you, and I'm right there. But this is a process of everybody kind of making decisions and stuff. So I think break it till 3:30. Break it till 3:30, and then. But I do hope teachers that you can. we look at everything, all the curriculum, and we go, oh, look who these screens were. Ooh, like everything, really? Maybe except for that. And then we jump in with screens, right? When we really should be looking at the flesh and blood teacher, because this whole plan in the BC, I'm familiar with BC education. They have BC Ed Act, a big website. What the plan is screens. They have a plan that the teacher is going to become more a facilitator of the child's learning. So if you're a facilitator, you don't really need a degree, maybe more like a 2-year kind of certificate program, so it's all on their website, right? So, this is we can't be focused on cost effectiveness here. These are kids, they're not an experiment, and we quite frankly are doing the biggest experiment ever in the education realm ever on children. And they're not doing very well, and they're not kind of seeing that, so, really kind of focus on if you do math good, you keep doing math good, and get the programs out. So, this is the other thing, is this content you'll be given, none of it, and to date I've reviewed hundreds of studies, none of it is evidence-based. What that means is that the research that has been done on these programs is industry-driven. It's been created by the tech industry. It's ridden with conflict of interest. It's not valid research. The only valid research we have is when we team up with universities, right? So if we were going to create a drug, pharmaceutical drug, we'd have to run it by Health Canada, they'd have to prove it, then we'd have to do clinical trials, first animal trials and clinical trials, the whole process, right? And it's done between the pharmaceutical industry and university, right? So I think we should expect at least that, with our programs that we're mass deploying, with computer-based programs with kids, that there should be valid research. Demand that from the producers of the ed tech. I want to see some valid research, right? And I think the more we demand it, the more they're going to be required to produce it. And we want to see long-term benefits, not just after 30 days, they can do something that couldn't do before. We really want to see that where does this tech fit into, this ed tech into the big picture. So we want to use a little bit of this, in this grade, a little bit of that in that grade, and then by the time they get to this grade, oh my gosh, we built this foundational component, that's great, so really lean toward evidence-based stuff. So looking at our leaders here, our leaders in the ed tech industry are, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, they're the big kingpins. The Silicon Giants, their children all attend Waldorf schools, and Waldorf schools don't use screens till age 12. So this is an interview that was done with Steve Jobs for the New York Times and Bill Gates, a remote interview. This is before he died. Anyway, that's his plan, No, he wasn't giving his kids tablets. Like, they had to be very strict, and the same with Bill Gates, very strict rules and screens with their kids. Why? Well, we should ask them, right? These are people creating this stuff, right, and shoving it down our throats, but aren't doing the same in their own homes, right? So I wrote this piece that kind of went viral when it's 2013, and it was that activity suit just came out. This was what spurred me to do this, is the little bucket seat that the baby's in, the iPad mount in front of the baby's face. And I was so horrified by this. And I was horrified by the fact that Health Canada actually allows this to be produced, right? We should not be marketing things. Many parents look at that and go, well, they're selling it, so it must be okay, right? I mean, many of us think that, yet, so, and that thing's still out there, it's still out there. So anyway, I was like, oh my gosh, we just have to come up with some epic statement. And so I did this no handhelds until 12. And 10 research evidence reasons why no handhelds until 12. Put it on my blog, got things on my post just went viral, and I was getting hate mail like crazy. Oh my gosh, I counted them at one point, 333. I mean, I just kind of quit looking at them because they were awful. They were, you know, and then bloggers were blogging against my blog, you know. There was one, I love this title, Chris Rowan, get your mitts off my babies like that, you know. One of the mommy bloggers saying. So anyway, what's kind of, the reason I put this up here is it's kind of interesting now. I'm getting tons of requests for the research, which I have in a file, that I used to back this, and the article itself and reprint permission. So it's now being blogged on in a more positive light. You know, geez, Chris, maybe you were just talking about like Dr. John's printing, and you know. So I guess what's the take home from this is that I don't know about the band thing. That band word's pretty strong. My son was actually home that weekend, and I showed it to him, and he's a prolific writer, right? He goes, yeah, Mom, I don't think you want to use the word band. It's pretty strong, right? But I wanted to wake people up. I was like, my whole thing was, let's get rid of this appendices. We have to kind of wake people up somehow. So maybe this isn't the best idea to do a band, right? You know, I do think there's some place in between on this whole spectrum of things, and you're going to find your place there. But let's not confuse kids. So let's try to talk to each other. And, you know, I might share with you, hey, I used this thing today. And remember what that chick Chris said, you know, about measuring outcomes? Well, you know, I actually got better outcomes when I use, you know, this type of stream or whatever, you know. Share what works, share what didn't work, share what your thoughts are, talk about it, you know, dialogue around it, meet with Stephanie. I had under 12s. Yeah, the gamers. I mean, I don't know how old they are, but just based on spelling errors and that kind of stuff, and their way of putting together words, you know. Oh yeah, no, I had a lot of some stuff that I actually, because I have a blog, but they were blogging actually, or most of the posts were on the W Post site, and I mean, I'm sure they were pulling some of the S stuff out of there, but you know, it was like, I was not well liked by the gamers. So here's just some encapsulating, this is like a summary slide. So, and when we start thinking about the whole legalities of these things, right? You know, as the tech industry is liable for the stuff that they're selling to you or giving to you, which is causing some problems, right? And schools are culpable, meaning schools are kind of joining in and let's go for it and everything. So, you know, just to summarize that there isn't evidence yet. You know, in medicine, this blew me away when I started working in schools. In medicine, you don't do anything that's not evidence-based, right? A doctor is not going to prescribe you a drug unless it's gone through rigorous trials, right? So I don't practice any sort of OT techniques on kids that don't have strong evidence behind them to back that, right? You know, it's like, because I could lose my license if I didn't practice, but in schools, it's like this flavor of the month thing. You get strawberry, ooh, you know, like this has lots of bells and whistles, bright lights, whoa, look at that, wow. The wow factor is really big with some of this stuff, right? So not trying to get caught up in that wow factor stuff. It is pretty amazing. Like, we got to stop saying that. We know screens are amazing. They're very immersive. They're very, you know, the graphics are just fantastic, right? So, the industry-driven stuff, privacy breach, the data harvesting, like that's a really huge concern. We're seeing a lot of that now by our privacy commissioners questioning things. Facebook, you know. So the other thing too, I showed the meta-analysis data on the concentration of memory. We know when we're going to use screens, we're going to get lower, you know, of retention and memory. Half of our kids are reporting addiction. Do we really want to have kids with addiction having that little bit of cocaine on the edge of their desk, right? That they can take just a little bit of every now and then, feeding the dragon, right? And proven harm to student health. So Mariachi in 2018 surveyed 33 tech industries that produce that tech. and found that 0% of them in their literature had any interest at all in student health, right? So there were no, this is a sedentary, program, so you should, your kids should get out and run around, at recess after they use this program. I mean, there was nothing that was, no precautions, no warnings, that is just something the tech industry does not think about, ed tech, right? They're not thinking about student health, right? So we really, in the schools, we have to take that responsibility. So what's going on? There's lots of stuff going on. Down in the States, Maryland just passed a bill, this is kind of interesting, that mandated schools work with health to ensure that we're not harming student health through our use of screens, right? So they mandated that they start documenting how much they're using. That's why I push that, the documentation of how much are you using, right? Because then you'd be surprised, you're going to be all over the map, and your tech-centric teachers are going to be quite high, right? So you might want to start with a standard, kind of going, we know we're in high school, we know kids are getting 9 hours of work at home on average, so I think we're going to limit it to an hour a day or something like that. So if I've got 6 classes, how are you going to do that if you're one of the 6 teachers? Those things have to kind of get worked out, right? So there's a lot of different things going on. Everyone's across the board. Here's my guys left, but here's my, this was what came out of this is part of the record of appeal that came out of this ICE conference that was on wireless radiation, right? That started us writing this, and then I kind of took it off to add more things that were non-radiation based initiatives, right? So cell phones, they've not been proven to be educational or beneficial in any way. They're very distracting. The multitasking is causing all kinds of health and physical and mental health benefits. They're really bad because of addictions. So there really isn't any data to support the use for them in schools. Now, I understand that they're using them for education purposes. So when I talk to a superintendent, she says, well, they're only to be used for education purposes, right? But she didn't get that, you've got 30 kids, what are you going to be doing? Like, you're standing behind them all and you're staring at, what they're doing, right? So it's impossible to kind of monitor them. So at this point, I really do agree with not having cell phones in schools, right? So going wired, especially for our little guys. Our K-2s, K-6s, why don't we I know you got, who has a stack of iPads here? They have like about 9 antennas that are, when you're on downloading, right? So if the kids are going on Google and they're downloading a YouTube video or something, and they've got that on the lap of a little boy, to me, that's kind of the data that we know about around testicular cancer, DNA fragmentation, reduced fertility. Fertility clinics are now telling dads who have motility issues with their sperm, don't carry the cell phone in your pocket, right? So these are medical, mandates that are going out there based on the data that we have, right? Why aren't we restricting putting, iPads on laps of little boys? It's just, it doesn't make sense to me when we know that. And that was published in Nature. That Nature is a very reputable journal. It's not like PubMed or, some of the other kind of more, they have very, very strict requirements on who publishes in Nature. So ensure literacy until grade 3. We want our kids to be literate. I'm just seeing that there's so little adherence to teaching them to print, especially reading. Teachers are teaching reading still, but they're not teaching printing. Our kids need to be literate. Only use evidence-based ed tech and balance the ed tech with movement. So, for every hour, you got to get 2 hours of movement in. So let's follow our community health guidelines, right, on making sure kids are getting enough movement. So that went out, to all our ministries throughout Canada, ministers of ed throughout Canada, Health Canada, a whole bunch of, I sent it everywhere. And so again, it's all research evidence, right? So it's called the Safe Schools Policy. It's on my blog. Has all the backing information behind each one of those three things. So some considerations is also look at your vision statements. You know, look at your. We kind of got to get back to, like I said, we're all about the kids. You know, that's what we, it's not what is the teachers like or they don't like or we want to do things that are evidence-based that are good for the kids and not harm the kids, and stuff. So look at our mission statements. They usually contain something in there about not harming kids. And how are we going to measure success? So, back to outcome measures, I asked you grades, up 25%. So, how are we going to actually measure outcomes? Engagement is I really push this goal. And so when I say engagement, that's like kids who get off this apathy train and, they're like really low arousal and I don't care to putting up their hand and actually engaging in learning. So, some kids, we're not going to catch the improvements or the regression with just a grades. But, so standing tables, for example, 17% increased engagement. And what that means is hands up. 17% more hands up with standing tables, right? So it's waking kids up. They're getting excited about something, and so we really maybe want to look at different ways of kind of measuring success, in these areas. So set maximum screen limits, set recess limits, set minimum standards for playgrounds that we have to have something out there for the 7 to 12-year-olds, like some minimum standards for playgrounds. Online really should be supervised. And however you do that, like I've seen the whole things where it's like the computer teacher like to see what's on everybody's screens or whatever. You can do that with wired computers. It's very difficult to do that with screens. Does anyone know a way to do that? If you had 30 kids that have handhelds in your classroom, is there any way to know what they're doing? Oh, yeah?
I have not put in handhelds, but we have notebooks and grade 6, and I have something called Go Gardening. And so what it does is it'll go on and I will go on, I can see everything. So, and I have control of the close. You get one close and then I'm not finished.
Wow. So what are your thoughts on that? Like Chromebooks, like
So let me tell you more.
okay.
So this is all great, but what's happening is I don't get to it's great and it's wonderful and I'm watching and they know that I'm watching, that's good. But I'm also not going to be able to work with them one-on-one because I'm so busy watching and closing all the tabs that they're still, even though I'm watching, we'll try to do it. I'll turn off YouTube, but it's unbelievable how savvy these kids are in getting to them. So it is great because I don't have to do the writing on the tablet, and that's all what I do for a while. But it has been great to help with that situation.
That's awesome. So you are seeing, and I'm not totally against screens. Like I do output speed tests. So when kids are in that grade 4 or 5, I do a 1-minute copy test with printing, right? So they copy print from a developmentally appropriate book for a minute. We count their letters per minute, and then there's research data that shows where they're at grade-wise. And then I get them the keyboard. I just give them my laptop and I say, okay, so let's copy here's another page, copy this for a minute. Well, if their output speeds are like double, which I find a lot, I'm going, can this kid have a laptop, right? Like obviously this is not, we don't want to be punitive. Some kids, they're just like, they're printing. Many kids are not taught cursive. So if I'm a kid who has motor delays and this whole start, stop, turn thing with printing is hard for me, I'd be way better off in cursive. Like I always try cursive first. I mean, you can try cursive now. Would you like to try cursive? No. Okay. So I move on to the keyboard, right? But some kids actually will say, yeah, I know I want to learn cursive. It's amazing. That's one girl. grade 6, she had really low output speeds, and she just got so into cursing. Like she was bringing me out of there week, like, look at me, you know, and she got her output speeds in cursive up over her printing speed, like inside of that week, as I retested it, right? I was like, oh, let's redo this, right? So we do want to make it easy for our kids to output. Sometimes screens and Chromebooks are, if we can manage them, right? So it's called something Guardian? Go Guardian. Go Guardian. Yeah. Hopefully that's going to get better. You know what I mean? Hopefully that's going to get better. But when we've got these real concerns around mental health, you know, Google Docs, my only concern about Google Docs is you know, so everyone's going to Google Docs and they're like sharing stuff and whatever, and they're sitting next to that person, right? So Google Docs makes sense to me when you go home and they're working on a team-based project or something, but if, you know, is really in the classroom, we really want to build the social piece. You know, so can they somehow do this project together? I've said that a million times. I don't want to keep saying it over and over again, but really take into account that 50% that are reporting depression and anxiety, knowing it's related to lack of social and social competence, social, you know, confidence, right? So we're going to start going through what do, right? So we've got 3 minutes, something like that. 55 minutes? Something like that. So this is going to be a big blitz because a lot of the slides have just a photo on them, right? And it's just to give you ideas, right? And it's going to hit on some of the concepts that I've already kind of talked about today. Nature-based stuff. What do we do with our sleepy kids? We activate the stimulator. What do we do with our angry kids? Activate probe. So it'll kind of go through and encapsulate all this, right? So just sit back and enjoy yourself. So just to point out again, really important to talk to our kids. There's a tech talk guideline, communication guideline, whatever you want to call it, in here on talking to your class about screens, right? And so it kind of talks about how to walk them through, you know, this. So I talked to you a little bit about my Screen Buster program. I love working with Screen 6-7s, right? So this one school, KenoraCat, the Screen Busters, they came up with that name, by the way. So they're the peers that are going to go out there and kind of talk to the other kids around screens. So they're doing 15 minutes in every classroom once a week. So this is part of their curriculum. They are, they take in zombie kids. So here's zombie kids. So actually it was kind of cute because they shadowed me. It started with just 3 of them, right? The principal said, here, we'll take these 3. And because I thought of this, I thought about this, how am I going to get a peer model going? And might this be the school that I might work in? Small school. So the principal gave me these 2 kids, and they were awesome. So they shadowed me. And they gave me really direct feedback. You're doing way too much. You're talking way too much. The kids need to be coloring something, you know, like you have to sit and listen to you. And you're using too big of words and like all this stuff. They came up with such great ideas. So anyway, they said, we should have the kids color a zombie, right? And tell them they're going to turn into a zombie if they keep using screens, right? And I said, okay, so all the things that I tell them, which were maybe about 10, you know, I said, how many should I tell them? They said, no more than 5. Which ones? These are the ones they picked, right? So my daughter does all my graphics and stuff, so my daughter drew this. So this is now the intervention. So when I do tech talks now, I hand these out, you know, and the kids, I tell the teacher to get some crayons out or whatever. The kids are coloring while I'm doing the talk, right? So I talk about the brain and how it makes the brain small when we do lots of screens, and we talk about how much they're using, and you know, and we do this whole talk. And then on the flip side are the guidelines. So I move into, so there's guidelines for screens, sleep, and play, you know, and then I say, so take this home and show it to your parents, right? But then I give them the 24-hour, like a challenge. Like, this is probably the most successful intervention that I have, right? And so I tried some kids with this last night who came in and wanted pizza, and I said, you have to take the 24-hour credit challenge, right? What's that? 24 hours without screens. So, you know, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to go 24 hours without any screens. And so I asked for a show of hands, how many kids are going to do that? You know, usually half of the class contributes to that. And then I move into the most important part of the talk, which is what are you going to, so you're going to do today, 3 o'clock today, then 3 o'clock tomorrow. What are you going to do when you go home? And I stand at the board, and they start spewing stuff off, and I write it all down. So I make sure there's like a good 30 things on there. So I don't just accept, go outside, and like, go outside and do what? Go outside and do what with who? You know, how long are you going to be outside? When are you going to come in? And I really encourage them to go outside immediately upon getting home, right? So that they don't do screens first. So they do activity first and then screens, right? If they are going to fail the challenge, right? So then I go back to the classroom the next day. So then this is a perfect project. So you give them the challenge, they leave, you give them the little thing they're going to take home and show their parents, you know, and then they come back the next day and you have them journal or write something around it, or just have little kids have a talk about it. How is that for you? I hear amazing stuff. Better sleep, less fighting, you know, enjoying parents more, did something with parents. What I hear that is really distressing is many parents have difficulty with this. I shouldn't say many, but I get this reported frequently when I go do the recap the next morning. My mom got really mad. She shoved her phone in my face. You know, she said, watch this. You know, my older sister was bugging me all night. Finally, she grabbed it and she said, sit down and watch this. You know, like, so that was surprising to me. Like, but there's, again, you know, there's a lot of push at home and a lot of work that we need to do to help them to understand more about this. So that's for the kid who took this. I said, did you show this to your mom? You know, yeah. You know, did you put it on the fridge? Because I told them to tape it onto the fridge, hoping the parent will like read it. You know, so this is in evolution. Like I said before, I tried tons of stuff that doesn't work, and a few things that do. So then we're in the classroom. So these are kind of ideas for your classroom. So we want to do the off-center movement to wake them up. So standing, I talked about standing a lot. Standing tables, standing desks, hokey chairs, wobble boards. Wobble boards at the standing table are great. So building core, building motor coordination, waking up, this shaking of the vestibular system, waking up the brain. So there's an endless variety of things you can use. And these are what we call tools, right? So we're going to also talk about techniques that we can use. But here's tools that are going to dump energy. So activate that proprioceptive system. We want the isometrics, the hand push. So rough and tumble play is awesome for draining energy, having that rough and tumble zone, you know, outside. That's TRX for your high school students, even your junior high students. The TRX strapping is awesome for dumping energy. So you just lean, there's a bolted hook that goes on the wall into a stud, and you lean away from it, and then you do bicep curls, triceps. But it's really kind of an interesting feeling. So you make your body like a plank, and it's really good for kids who have like dyspraxia, who have motor control issues. You know, so they're leaning back, and they'll say, okay, so pull yourself forward, you know, flex your elbows, curl your arms, you know, like I'm saying all this stuff right here, just like hanging there, like they don't know how to do this. Many of our kids are very dyspraxic because they just aren't moving their bodies enough. Slam balls, massive success with slam balls. So that's, you can get them at any fitness depot kind of thing. You can get them in different poundages. So I use 12s usually for my K-3s, and they use 17 pounds, you know, kind of further up. But what they need to do is they need to pick it up, put it up way over their head, and then just throw it as hard as they can into the ground. Slam balls are different than medicine balls. Medicine balls bounce. They're not safe. They can literally bounce back up and hit you in the mouth. Slam balls go splat, and they just stay there. They're full of sand. And so they're very safe because the kids can't launch them at each other. But we always have to create tools rules. Chin-up bars, awesome for our like middle school kids. Love chin-ups. And so I suggest getting the wall mount ones, not the door frame ones. They're just not sturdy enough. But chin-up bars are just great for dump energy. So here's some isometric techniques. So we did hand push. You can also do chair push, where you push yourself off the chair. You can do plank, yoga plank, push-ups. You can make the room bigger. Let's go make the room bigger. Come on, guys. And they push against the wall, you know, and then you I always ask the teachers, it can't be bigger. Is the room getting bigger? And the kids are all kind of looking at me like they're crazy. You know, crab walk, spider walk, races, that kind of thing. So, tactile techniques lower anxiety, lower adrenaline, so squishy stuff. So, squishy, the shoulder squeeze that I was doing is the tactile technique, right? But also we can have tactile tools. So there's the P-Pod, which I've seen you have. Weights work remarkably well to slow kids down. It gives them pressure. So I put wrist weights, 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds on the ankles. It's just hilarious to watch these really, you know, wired up kids just kind of walking across. And you'll see, I keep asking them all the time, I go, did you do your math now? Did you do your math now? Because we try all these different things, right? I think so. Sit down. You know, so weights on the lap, compression vests, you know, weighted vests, all that kind of stuff. Work that tactile system to lower anxiety. Yep. That's a compression vest. So it's neoprene, and then it has Velcro here on both sides and Velcro on the shoulder. And what it does is it just gives that pressure. So you saw me doing the shoulder squeeze, right? It gives you a nice squeeze all around. So our really big high anxiety kids, it's like getting a big hug. You know, so we don't have the you know, the connection piece there, but that's a really powerful tactile device to help it feel more calm and secure and regulated, right? So you just measure, they're available through school specialty in Canada. You just measure the circumference of the chest, but they're a really great thing to have in, you know, 3 or 4 of them different sizes to try for kids because they can be really powerful. And then the one on the right is a body sock. It's made of lycra. And they can crawl inside of it, and it just gives them that nice pressure, right? Like a little cozy kind of thing. So in your tech toolkit is a diagram that is for Megan. Is Megan here? No. Okay, so Steph, this is what I was talking to her about, right? So they're looking at making a sensory room, right? That would have a bunch of different things in it. So you can do this in your classroom. You can have a separate room, which is, you know, what Megan's kind of like working on. But what we want to kind of create is we want to create like I call them chill out, hang out, workout. So we want to kind of have 3 different kind of stations in our classroom. And by stations, it can just mean there's a little area, right? But chill out, you know, so we've got our tents, we've got, you know, for littler kids, we've got just a space, you know, where they can, you know, cubbies. Sometimes kids just get inside their cubbies, you know, and pull the coat over in front of them. That's a kid who's saying, I need to chill out, I need some downtime, right? So kids in overload need chill out spaces. We need a workout space. It might be an exercise bike, it might be bike inner tubes. Awesome for doing like bicep curls. So you have different sizes of deflated bike inner tubes. I get them from the bike shops, and the kids can just, you know, pull on them. They're really cheap. They're kind of stinky. Make their hands kind of usually like a bit dirty and stuff. So chill out, workout, hang out. Have a little, like here it shows a little picture of a library kind of type thing. So a place where it might just be a couch. But each of these spaces in your classroom has rules, right? So chill out, only 1 kid at a time, obviously in a tent, or, you know, whatever is that. I create chill out spaces in all kinds of things. I mean, it can be as simple as, do you have a blanket? Yeah, I've got one in the, you know, first aid room. Let's just put it over this table. It could be a little desk, right? And it makes a cake. then that's a show up space for that kid, right? So it can be very simple or it can be a lot more elaborate. So thinking of outdoor, so we're still in the classroom, take them out of the classroom, right? So that 20-minute a day thing, you know you're going to get better attention. Can I do one of my subjects outside? Can we sit on the ground and break up little sticks and do our multiplication or, addition things with sticks and rocks and, something? Can we draw in the sand? Can we go for a hike and recite, rhymes or read books as we're walking? That's really fun when kids love that, actually. So they're supposed to read while they're walking on the trail outside, right? And you're actually activating both sides of the brain because they have to do motor coordination, they have to do ocular coordination, oral, and walk at the same time, right? So it's a real brain wake up. So what do we do in our gyms? So Crash and Bump is a program that I created almost 10 years ago now. And what it is gym stations, right? It's organized gym stations. So this is up in the Helsing First Nation in Bella Bella in British Columbia. And I was health director and asked for 20 grand to kind of put together this program. And it was started for the 0 to 6 because I was working actually in maternal and child health at the time. But the school caught on because it went on Facebook. And like first day we opened, the whole school came down, right? And then it just turned into this thing like, okay, we need to get more equipment, we need to separate the programs, have stuff for the early intervention kids, for the school age kids, and then for the high school kids. So there's 3 separate programs now that Crash and Bump's evolved into. And so there's a big bouncy castle, there's, a lot of suspended stuff, so kids can climb, they can spin, they can do all kinds of things. And this is the most favorite device. It's called a string. It spins. It has a $200 spinning device, that rotating device that actually really makes it go fast. So the kids can hang on to the bottom rung and their legs literally go out behind them. They get running so fast, right? That their legs finally go out behind them and they're spinning so fast. So lots of mats. We have, in 4.5 years, I'm going up there again in 2 weeks, 4.5 years we have not had one injury, right? So there's 8 different stations, and the kids they learn to line up. There's a lot of motor coordination stuff we're working on. This is designed by non-conventional therapists, right? So a lot of bilateral integration stuff. So this little guy, he's so cute, like he sat down on the scooter board and he got the paddles and then he just sat there. Like he had literally no idea how to make that scooter board go. And he said, push me, and I'm like, no. And I took the paddles away and I got my hands on his feet. And I started going like this, forward, and then back, then forward and then back. So I did motor memory, motor planning stuff. And I said, you do that, so he did it. And then he went through it's called the lazy river. So there's these little lycra things that go over them. And then he was ready for the paddles, right? And literally, this is what's so beautiful about when they get their needs met. By the end of Crash and Bump, before he left, he came over to me and he was like, look, and he was doing upper lower integration and right left integration, like reciprocal. So it doesn't take much to get these kids going. So thinking about what could you do in your gym. So this is a gym diagram that's also in your tech toolkit. And these are just some ideas, right? Carpet square races, a lot of proprioception. So they sit on the little carpet squares you get from the carpet store, the carpet sample things, and they have to race. They push themselves across, push themselves back with their feet and their hands, right? A lot of energy draining. So thinking of what do you need for your kids? There's all kinds of gym-based stuff. I just take my kids in the fitness rooms. Like I told you, that little guy, Tommy, he was 6 years old, and I went to go in the fitness room for the high school students and ramped up the treadmill, and he was lifting weights, he was on the rowing machine, he was really draining energy, that took out a ton of energy. So this is a garage gym that we built off to the side of the school, so we matted it, put a climbing wall, did reverse pitches on the climbing wall, because kids told me, I asked him, and he said, this gets really boring, right? So they did -10, -20, -30. So to make it like super hard, there's rings, TRX, mattresses, agility ladders, high-low boxes, chin-up bar. You know, so we just put a lot of stuff in there for the team, you know, the team range, right? What can we do in our hallways? There's all kinds of games you can play in hallways. Like, why do we want people to walk from A to B? You know, why can't they be doing like a motor task, right? So this is Ever Active Schools out of Alberta sells these things, right? So they sell the hands and the feet, the decals that you can put down, and then you can do different tasks. So I'm just going to move forward. You can do different things along the walls that they have to do, right? So this is just duct tape. This is what I used to use. Now I've got these cool decals. But, you know, so you do alternating blue and green. So it's left, right, you know, and with feet, you know, that they've got to do, you know, hop, hop, right, left. And then you don't put the left, you know, so you're wanting them to remember, what is green again? Is that left? Oh, I didn't cross over. You know, so there's all kinds of stuff you can do. You can make you know, like consecutive squares. It gets smaller. So kids have to learn how to start and stop when they're doing their printing, right? So it's a motor skill. So let's start big. You know, so they have to walk up to here, stop. You know, turn. You know, walk, stop, turn. So there's a lot of stuff we can do in hallways that can really help our kids. So there's I thought I had one of these. So those are just some of the stuff that I put together to challenge motor systems. And it's fun. Kids really like this stuff. You know, and so going to the library or to the gym or wherever you're going, it becomes a bit more of an adventure, right? This is one of the schools I work in Cedar Grove. They do relay races down the hall once a week. So each classroom competes with the other classrooms, and it's all figured out. The principal's amazing. He's figured out. He gives everybody like a handicap, right? You know, like the younger kids have a tiny handicap kind of thing. But you know, it's why not have them run down the hall? You know, not willy-nilly, but in a controlled manner. So once a week, they're actually allowed to run down the hall. They're not allowed to run down the hall every day, right? Playgrounds. Playgrounds are really like the epicenter for development and learning. It all happens on the playground. Motor development, social development, everything, right? So I want to show you a little clip that just gets us in the mood for kind of thinking about what we're going to be doing.
I can't believe we made it. According to today's regulators and bureaucrats, those of us who were kids in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or even early 80s probably should not have survived. Our baby cribs were covered with bright-colored lead-based paint. We had no child-proof lids or locks on medicine bottles, doors, or cabinets. And when we rode our bikes, we had no helmets. We drank water from the garden hose and not from a bottle. We ate cupcakes, bread, and butter, and drank soda with lots of sugar in it. But we were rarely overweight because we were always outside playing. We would leave home in the morning and play all day, as long as we were back when the streetlights came on. No one was able to reach us all day. Smartphones? We didn't have cell phones at all. No PlayStations, Xboxes, limitless channels on cable, laptops, or tablets. Facebook was an actual face and an actual book. We had friends. We went outside and found them. Played dodgeball, and sometimes the ball would hurt. We fell out of trees, got cut, and broke bones and teeth. And there were no lawsuits from these accidents. No one was to blame but us. Remember accidents? We had fights and punched each other and got black and blue and learned to get over it. We made up games with sticks and tennis balls. And although we were told it would happen, we didn't put out any eyes. We rode bikes or walked to a friend's home, knocked on the door, rang the bell, or just walked right in and talked to them. Little League had tryouts, and not everyone made the team. Those who didn't had to learn to deal with disappointment. Some students weren't as smart as others, so they failed a grade and were held back to repeat the same grade. Tests were not adjusted for any reason. Our actions were our own. Consequences were expected. The idea of parents bailing us out if we got in trouble in school or broke a law was unheard of. They actually sided with the school or the law. Imagine that. Now this generation has produced some of the best risk takers, problem solvers, and inventors ever. We had freedom, failure, success, and responsibility, and we learned how to deal with it. If you've related to anything that was just said, you're one of them. Congratulations, you made it.
So whenever I show that to people,
I can't believe.
they just kind of, there's a relaxed kind of thing about, so you're many people, you know, you kind of like tell them a little bit of data and then you show them that, and then they just kind of go, okay, let's look at this project here, you know, let's see if we can, you know, so instead of talking about risk, kind of show them something like that historically, you know, we've kind of all survived and we all, you know, did a lot of risky things, right? So this is actually a spec ed teacher from Merit came to one of my workshops, and you know, I talk a lot about playgrounds and everything, and she realized they had 4 kids and they didn't have a playground, so they bought this playground and then put it together in the night so that it was the kids who need big surprise for the kids, right? So they went to bed about 4 in the morning or something, and the kids woke them up, and this is what they saw, is these bears played for like half a day on the playground, 4 baby bears, right? Like climbing up the, you know, loving this, right? Kids love playgrounds, they love playgrounds. I actually wandered around the playgrounds, and you've got great playgrounds for, you know, up to age, you know, like first, second grade. But there needs to be some work putting some challenging things in place there for, you know, for other kids. So what do we want the playground to do? We want a lot of off-center movement to build that core, right? Kids love balance beams, and they don't even have to be that big, right? You know, they compete all the time with balance beams. Put 2 or 3 together, right? So that they're, you know, who can get, you know, again, we want to build a competitive challenge for, you know, especially our boys, right? Who can get down and fast. You know, these are just half-buried tires. There's a whole list of stuff, you know, that will give you ideas on how to knock them off their center, so that we're building a strong core, and then secondary cores, motor coordination. So you're really looking at literacy here, right? Isometric movement, again, we want to make them work hard. How do we make them work hard? So climbing walls, all kinds of stuff. You guys who are falling asleep, no, seriously, get up, move around. We're here, the afternoon is this really, really hard for people that, you know, have had a long day, right? We want to make sure that it's fun, right? So I saw not a lot of climbing. Little boys love to climb. And if you have kids that are literally climbing walls sort of thing, I didn't see a lot of it on your playground. So there was a little bit of it, but not a lot. I see much more in the way of climbing stuff, and I'll show you a few ideas. Swings, you've got great swings, right? You got 2 sets of whatever, I think 6 or something. You know, so you've got great swings, but it looks like the pushing under them isn't adequate, so you may want to kind of look at that. They love surge, you know, zip lines, surge swings. So when I say kids need challenge, they want to, if you have them climb up a straight cargo mat, or like this cargo mat moves, right, on purpose to increase the challenge, right? So the bars that go like this, again, more challenge. You're having to climb in and climb out and around, right? The little spinny thing, you know, is very challenging. So things like flywheels, merry-go-rounds. These are lovely. I love the disc swings because you can get, you know, like lots of kids on them, right? And they're falling off, but they're falling off on absorbent surfacing, right? So we're building, again, social when we start having devices that multiple children can use. Climbing is so important, and this is actually a picture of, it's called the Lunar Blast spider net, and it's at Cedar Grove School, one of my schools. It's awesome. Kids can climb quite a ways, and then they put a bell at the top, right? So when they get to the top, they have to ring a bell. So, you know, sunshine. They all run to the spider net and climb up and see if you can get the bell first, right? So climbing again works that proprioceptive system, so you're going to get energy dumping. Anytime you've got kids who are angry and blowing up and just have like massive amounts of energy, we want to get them going, with this kind of thing. So I didn't notice. Do you have cement anywhere? Yeah. So think about there's paint that you can get that doesn't wear off. Think about possibly this could be a project for your school that they develop a game, right? So there's going to be some sort of game, and you might want to show them this picture, and then just let them go from there, right? So they're going to paint something on the ground, and it's going to be games. So Foursquare is awesome, Hopscotch is awesome, but why not, working on some sort of a game thing, so that again, it's like there's stuff in the hallways. It's hard to walk, so you've got the little feet, and you're walking over the little feet. Kids won't do that, they're going to be going like this, and then there may be 3 at the right, so that means they got to hop, 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 right? So same with the playground, you want to kind of build cool stuff like this. You have a activist! Whoa! I love those. So do you get a lot of kids in them? Yes. Because it looks like it's really well worn, right? It looks like it's definitely getting a lot of use. Yeah. Because again, competitive, social, movement, you're not going to get hurt, move it inside and outside. So obstacle courses, as we're moving up the ages, we have to jack up the challenge, right? And so kids really love that competitive thing of moving through different stations. So there's a lot of commercial, really expensive obstacle courses. Of course, I'm not going to recommend. I'm going to recommend that your school plans it. Okay, so this is just a schematic of what the big thing behind an obstacle course is it's got to be a story. So what is the story? I mean, like in the jungle, and we're going to have to climb through a swamp and then run over some rocks in the river, and then, they're very imaginative and creative, right? So again, here's another contest possibly that, your classes might compete on or something. But we're going to do an obstacle course, and it can be really simple stuff, right? You can start super simple, like string some rope across, you got to climb through it. I've seen the things where we, 2 minutes, we're almost done actually. So anyway, it can just be super, like log rounds. Kids love, again, that whole balancing thing. So uneven log rounds, that are cut on a slant, right? So they fall off. Slash lines, tires wherever you look like. This is one of the Community School is building, so their grade 11, 12s, it's a K-12 school, got involved in the whole planning of the obstacle course stuff, and they're actually building it with the help of the community. So there's just all kinds of stuff here, and I want to show you this Tough Mudder Run is for kids who are they show up at school and they're so jacked up, and they can't be integrated into the classroom. Take them out and run them on the trails, right? So this is a little group here. What are we doing? Okay. So I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, run! So this is Trevor Marsky is the principal, and he takes the group out every morning. And it's so funny when I told him about Tough Mudder, he's like, he's a real action guy, and he was like, he called me and he said, are you the building a trail in the woods? And they were like, yeah, sure, right? And the kids were all, no! Because they didn't want a trail. See, now look at them going off trail, right? They wanted to go different places, wherever they all stay together as a group, right? They wanted to climb up stuff, they wanted to jump over stuff, they didn't want a trail, right? So try not to get too caught up in making it perfect for kids. Because it's also, of course, just the down logs, right? When I spoke with Tammy, your principal, she said that there was a big wind, a bunch of trees moved down. She kind of went through the whole process of we leave the trees there, and then they got chopped up somehow and tossed away. But kids climbing on logs and building forts can be one of the most favorable things. Fort building for boys is absolutely one of the best interventions out there, right? There's spatial concepts going there, there's planning, there's motor planning, there's it's just all in there, right? So this is a school that kids are allowed to build forts, but they kept falling down, so the principal actually built platforms for the fort. So these little triangular platforms for the fort platforms. And then he did the same with tires. You know, so it doesn't have to be complicated. This is a principal that actually did all of this himself. This is just showing some of the maps. This is what I was thinking for your sensory room, is these cocoon tents, right? So if you do have kids who literally need a nap, what can you do? You can stick one of those in your classroom, right? And it's a chill out space again. Bar stars, parkour, you know, things for staff too. Why not put a couple cardio steppers out there? So instead of going to sit and have coffee, you know, hey, let's go and we'll do the cardio stepper thing. Creating gathering spaces, you know, for kids, creating fire pits, fat tire bikes, that you've seen these, you know, in the north, very popular. Tandem bikes. This is one of the principals I work with, Barry Krangle. That's what he does for kids who are just blowing up, right? They go on the tandem bike. They get to go on the tandem bike with Barry, right? So, just in summary, you've got this tech toolkit. It's got, you know, a parent unplugging brochure, a text screen, a text schedule. There's tons of, there's 75 pages of this stuff in there, right? And just in summary, we're just witnessing, I call it the Titanic, right? The tip of the iceberg. There's a lot coming. So the more we do now, you know, the better. And so I'll just put this last slide here. With, this is all the stuff about me. But I wanted to get the last slide, which shows, sorry, the link to, yeah. So the handouts and the videos down the very bottom there are on this website. So right on the front page, you can download the PDF of this, so all the slides, and then as well a textbook kit. And feel free to replicate any of this data, any of this stuff you can replicate. Like if you want to use a brochure as a parent handout, go for it. Just don't sell any of it. That's really restriction. So, question.